This is case number 110 on the calendar in the matter of Zalaric Hire versus Southards. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Zalaric, it is your claim that you sold a car to the defendant and he refuses to pay what he owes on the car. And the second part of your claim is that he had an altercation with your daughter and he made false charges of assault against her. You're Miss Hire?
Yes.
How old are you?
23.
And you want to be compensated for these false charges. Mr. Southards says that the car was a piece of junk and the charges were true. So, Mr. Southards, you bought this car?
I made a $25 payment on this car.
Let's start with the premise, sir.
Okay.
That I'm older than you are, and I know more.
Right.
So don't dance around with words.
Okay.
You bought a car.
Correct.
And after you bought the car, you made one payment.
Correct.
Now we're talking, Mr. Southards. When did you buy the car, sir?
12502 is when I put in my name.
Fine. And you gave her how much money?
Nothing.
What was the agreed purchase price?
$400.
And you knew Mrs. Zalaric before you bought the car?
That's correct.
How long had you known her?
Approximately maybe 2 years.
Is this the first car you ever purchased?
No, ma'am.
How many cars have you purchased before?
I'd say about 3.
What were the terms of the payment that you were supposed to make to Mrs. Zalaric?
I would give her $25 a month until I received my income tax.
And then you would pay her the balance?
Correct.
Good. You see how easy this is going to be?
Yeah.
You didn't expect it to be so easy, did you?
No.
Now, you said you made one $25 payment?
That's correct.
When did you make the $25 payment?
I'm not sure exact date.
When did he make the payment? You see, I knew you were going to get a turn.
He made that payment February 21st.
Now, when you got the title to the car, Mr. Southards, did you also take possession of the car?
Well, I had possession of the car beforehand.
You did?
Correct. Ms. Zalaric was not pressed for the money, as she had told me. She just wanted the car off her insurance and off the street.
Try not to volunteer any answers. It makes my job much easier. When did you take possession of the car?
In January.
Before you got the title?
Correct.
And you were doing some work on the car?
Correct.
Was the car running or not running when you purchased it?
It wasn't running.
So you had to do some work to put it in a running state?
Correct.
So it wasn't a surprise to you if the car could not be driven, that work had to be done on the car?
Correct.
Bird, this is like shooting fish in a barrel.
Take your time.
January 25th, then, not only did you have the car, but you had the title. You made a payment February 21st. Now, sir, I assume that you have received your income tax refund back. Is that right?
That's correct.
Why didn't you pay her the money?
Because the car was a lemon, and she had lied to me about nothing being majorly wrong with the car, when in fact it had a blown head gasket. And the muffler on the car, you could only get through the manufacturer, and that would cost $800.
How many weeks did you have this car, sir, before you got the title?
Maybe 3.
Well, in the 3 weeks' time that you had the car, sir, before you got the title, did you know it needed a muffler?
At that time, no, until I got it on the road to get inspected.
So you had the car, you were working on the car, you put it in a condition where it would run, go from here to here.
Correct.
But you couldn't tell it needed a muffler. What? Either way, it doesn't look good for you, sir. Either answer. So why don't you just tell me the truth? Let's make it easy for each other.
No, ma'am.
No what?
I didn't think it needed a muffler.
Well, if you didn't think it needed a muffler, and you're a guy who's bought 3 used cars and was fixing them up yourself, what makes you think this lady, who probably the only thing she knows about cars is putting a key in an ignition, turning it on, and maybe turning on a radio station, what would make you think she knew it was a lemon?
I talked to her husband.
Her! You bought it from her.
Okay. I spoke to her and her husband, which was familiar with the car. They had problems with it before.
They had problems. It wasn't running, sir. What do you mean they had problems with it before? It wasn't running. You couldn't take it from point A to point B when you took it off their hands. Did you have it towed?
No, I pushed it.
You pushed it.
We're neighbors.
That's not the usual way you get a car from point A to point B, by pushing it. That would lead a reasonably intelligent person or a very smart fool to the conclusion that there was something majorly wrong with the car.
There wasn't anything majorly wrong as far as starting it. And Mr. Zalaric, when they had parked the car, which had been sitting there for about a year on the street, had told me that when they parked it, it was running.
When you bought it for $400, and we're not talking $4,000 or $40,000, when you bought it for $400, it wasn't running. And what year car was this?
82.
So the car is 20 years old.
Right.
You've bought 3 used cars before. The car isn't running. You have to push it from one place to another in order to work on it. You had it for 3 weeks. You played with this, you played with that, you put money into it, whatever, you finally got it running. She gave you the tags, and you went to have it registered?
Correct. In
order to have it registered, did you have to have it inspected?
Yes.
Did it pass inspection?
No, it didn't.
Oh. Is that when you decided not to pay her any more money?
That's not correct. No.
Well, when did you decide not to pay her any more money?
When I found out all the problems, you know, that came out of this car wasn't worth putting the money into. I mean,
now,
this
Mr.
car...
Southards, pay careful attention to me.
Okay.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
The plaintiff says, take the car, work on it. Don't give me any money. See if you can get it going. Is that about right?
No, we had a contract.
Okay, I'm going to look at it. You take the car, you take it to a mechanic, and you say, look at this car, tell me whether it's worth it for me to buy it, right? A 20-year-old car. If you didn't do that, that's your fault. Let me see the contract. That's not her fault. Well, this says he's supposed to put down $100. He didn't. No. You gave it to him anyway.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They come in my house. I tell them to get off my property. I don't want you here. She ends up getting in my face and pushing me. They're tag team partners. They've done it before. This is a family matters.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cassie Zalaric and her daughter, Adina Heyer, are suing their neighbor, Andrew Southards, for the unpaid balance on a car. Andrew says both ladies are obsessed with him.
Okay. So you owe him $375 for the car. That was the easy part. Now, let's get to the harder part. You claim that he filed false assault charges against you. I want you to tell me how that came about.
On February 25th, he came over to our house and got into an argument with my mother about the car because he didn't want to pay for it because it was a piece of he said. There were some things that my mother wanted to talk to his girlfriend about, so she proceeded to go down to her house. He followed us up there. He went in before we did. He pushed my mother out the door and slammed the door on her. We asked Heather, his girlfriend, if we could come into her house, and she said yes. She wanted to know what was going on. Andy was very outraged that we had went down there.
What'd you go down there for?
He's been harassing my daughter, trying to date her and all, when he's supposed to be with this girl engaged to her.
What's that your business? What's that your business?
Him harassing my daughter?
No. Him trying to date your daughter.
Well, he was also calling me, asking me if I thought my daughter would date him, and...
That's fine. The reason you went to his girlfriend's house is to make trouble, right? Right?
Right.
Because his girlfriend isn't a police officer. If he's harassing your daughter, what you do is you call the police. If you want to be a troublemaker, you go to his girlfriend's house. All right, but now you're there. You're at the girlfriend's house. Girlfriend invites you in, he slammed the door. Let me hear about these charges that he made against you.
He was screaming and hollering at me and calling me an easy, a skank. He was just very outraged. And the whole problem was because the week before, he was continuously calling me on my cell phone, calling my house, asking me to go out, and I told him no.
Why did you go to his girlfriend's house?
Because my mother went down there and I wanted to make sure that everything was okay.
Your Honor.
I'll get to you in a minute.
Okay.
Now, is this where the alleged assault took place, at the girlfriend's house?
Yes.
Now you can tell me what the assault was, sir.
Okay. This is all out of revenge because I didn't want to mess with their daughter. They're both, I mean, they like me or something.
Get to your girlfriend's house.
Anyway,
I don't know why, sir. Get
this
to the
is
girlfriend.
also
You're
my
at the
house.
girlfriend's.
This is also my house.
Oh, your house, your girlfriend's
right. This
house.
is where I live. Okay.
Good.
They follow me down to my house. They come in my house. I tell them to get off my property. I don't want you here. They're tag team partners. I mean, they've done it before. This is a family matters. Anyway, they come in my house without asking anybody to come in. My girlfriend says, okay, they're here already. They're raising a ruckus. Neighbors are out in the yard. They're cussing, swearing. Yeah, I did call her those names, but if the shoe fits, wear it. I mean, Hey, that's how I look at it. But as we get in the house, you know, that's my house. I had to say what I had to say. I told him to leave. You know, my girlfriend said, well, I'll hear the story, then y'all need to leave. They carried it on still. She ends up getting in my face and pushing me over a playpen, which my 1-year-old daughter at the time is in. Okay, this is when I decided to call the police.
So she pushed you?
Correct.
What hospital were you taken to when she pushed you?
I wasn't taken to a hospital. The fact is, I almost...
What doctor did you see as a result of your injuries?
No doctor.
What medical treatment did you receive from EMS when they arrived at the scene?
Nothing. As far as assault...
May I see the photographs of your injuries?
No photographs.
What are you laughing at, you idiot? What are you laughing at?
It's a point that there doesn't have to be marks to be assaulted.
Yes, there does, sir.
Okay.
Yes, there does.
Then how
because an attempted assault means that you intend to cause injury. Why don't you be quiet?
Okay.
And pay attention?
Okay.
An assault means that you cause injury. If you touch somebody by way of a battery and you do not cause any injury, that is an attempted assault. So you had no injuries, is that right?
No.
And after you got pushed into the playpen, they left?
No.
They stayed and continued to argue?
Correct. After I asked them to leave, continuously.
All right, now let's get...
I have statements that have been notarized from a girlfriend.
I don't read statements notarized, sworn to, in blood.
Well, they couldn't be here to testify, so...
Why, are they in the military?
No. I mean,
Okay.
I have a child.
Just answer my question. Okay. Are you married to your girlfriend?
Not at this time. Planning.
And this is a house or an apartment?
An house.
Who lives in the house?
My girlfriend, we have 2 daughters and myself.
2 daughters?
Correct.
How old are the 2 children?
One's 4, and one's 1 year and 4 months.
Now, is there a lease in the house?
A lease? Yes.
Lease for the house?
Correct.
Whose name is the lease?
It's in her name.
Right. Who pays the rent on the house?
Both of us.
Does your girlfriend receive any state aid for the children? Or for herself?
No.
So she does
Not
not
to my
receive any public assistance or welfare
Not
for the
to my
children?
knowledge.
What?
Not to
Not
my
to your knowledge?
No.
I don't know.
If
I don't know.
we can start back over.
I want to know if you've been living there for 2 years, sir.
Okay.
And you explain to me why, just out of curiosity, and I want you to again understand.
Okay.
You're younger and better looking. I'm older and smarter.
Okay.
Explain to me why the house isn't in both your names. Is not an answer.
Okay. At the time, we were having a lot of disputes, and we didn't know if we were going to be together or not. So I was not trying to get stuck in a situation where I ended up paying on a house that I might not live in because of our relationship.
You still had children together. Who was supposed
Correct.
to pay for the children?
I take care of my children.
Oh, sure you do.
I do.
Oh,
That's
right.
my #1 priority.
#1 priority.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cassie Zalaric and her daughter, Adina Heyer, are suing their neighbor, Andrew Southards, for the unpaid balance on a car. Andrew says both ladies are obsessed with him.
Okay. Listen, what happened as a result of these baloney assault charges that he filed?
I missed several of my classes in school.
Big deal. You had no reason to go there.
You
had no reason to go there.
Yeah.
You had no reason to go to his house, whether it's his house or his girlfriend's house.
Yes.
Whether they're playing hanky-panky with the government or not, who knows? You and your mother had no reason to go to the house, and when he told you to leave, you should have left. And whether you were charged with trespass or you're charged with an assault or an attempted assault, whatever, you weren't convicted of anything. So your claim for false arrest is dismissed. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
But you're entitled to your car money back, $375. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't want nothing to do with them, and they're obsessed with me.
There's no way I would ever want to be with somebody like him.
Phone calls from the mother and the daughter, how they want to get out with me, and, you know.
That's outrageous.
One time I was taking a shower, and the mom called and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm taking a shower." She said, "Well, can I come over and help you?"
I just don't know where he's coming up with those.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Casey versus Kauff. Step forward, please.
Administrative Manager Sally Casey is suing Lisa Kaup and her parents Bob and Adelina Kaup for the cost to fix her son's car.
Stand over there.
You may be seated.
Mrs. Casey, it is your claim that the defendant's daughter, I assume this young lady right here, totaled your son's car.
That's correct.
She was driving the car without permission. You want her parents to be responsible. Her parents say that he shouldn't have let her drive the car, and it's not their responsibility. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like all the parents to sit down for a moment. What's your first name?
Michael?
Stand up on your own 2 feet, Michael. Your name?
Lisa.
You too. Put your hands at your sides. Good. That makes you more vulnerable. I want you to tell me how you got possession of his car. And you look at me, and I want you to make sure of one thing. I don't care what kind of baloney you gave to your parents. I don't care what kind of baloney you gave to your mother. What I'm going to find out is how you got possession of his car. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The school should have notified me. I can't be with her 24/7 watching over her.
If what you're telling me is that you actually believe that position, there is something seriously wrong with you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Michael Casey says schoolmate 16-year-old Lisa Kaup took his car without permission and wrecked it. Lisa says Michael willingly handed her the keys.
Let's go.
Okay. It was March 14, 2002. It was the day before my birthday. And it was fourth period, and my friends didn't want to go to fourth period. We thought it was a lame class. So
I want you to go slowly because I'm old and I can't hear you when you're speaking in 45 speed.
Okay.
It was your birthday. That's where you lost me.
So I had balloons and flowers, the whole nine, because it was the day before my birthday. And my friends didn't want to go to fourth period, so we decided to just go to school, but we didn't want to walk. And I had previously borrowed Mike Casey's car before. He said...
Shh. Go ahead.
So we wanted to borrow someone's car, so we found Mike. And one of my friends...
Who's we?
My friends, me and my 2 other friends.
Names?
Lisa and Gina.
So you found Mike where?
In the quad of the old school campus.
You were all together?
Yes. We approached him and we asked Mike, can we borrow your car?
Who asked?
My friend Lisa. And then she said, Mike, can we borrow your car? And he said, go ahead, as long as you put gas in it. So then we took the car, we walked out of school, and we took the car, and we went to my friend Lisa's house. And then we jumped back into the car, and then we were pulling away from the driveway. I looked over my shoulder, but because of the balloons and the flowers that I looked over, and the car must have been in my blind spot. So then I pulled away from the curb real slow, and then the car came up, and the whole other side of the road was open, but the car didn't move out of the way. She just approached forward. And then so we collided, and but the left fender of Mike's car hit the front fender of the other woman's car.
Now your version.
All right, I was in...
No, look at me.
Okay.
And I want you to trust me. I don't care what story you gave to your mother. I want you to know that I have a truth machine back here.
All right.
Do you understand?
I understand.
Good.
All right. It was around 12 o'clock, right before lunch, and Lisa, her friend, came up to me. I didn't see this Lisa or her other friend. I don't know what the other friend's name was. But Lisa came up to me and asked me for the keys because I gave her a ride the day before, to school. She said she left a notebook in my car. She took the keys from me. I said, meet me back here in 5 minutes. So I waited for 5 minutes, waited for 20, waited for 30, waited for 40. I was called into the office. I saw them in the back of a police car come up. They said, your car has been totaled. I was like, how has my car been totaled? They said, it's been crashed. I was like, how has it been crashed? They said, well, Lisa Kaup was driving your car and she crashed it. I said, Lisa Kaup? I gave the keys to Lisa in the first place. What's the whole point here?
Let me see a police report.
This one?
Have you in the past let anyone else drive your car?
No. Ever.
That's not true.
Well, my grandpa, the one that gave it to me?
No, I'm not talking about your grandpa. I'm talking about any other of your peers drive your car.
The only person that's ever driven my car other than me, one of my peers, is my friend Vince. That's all.
Excuse me, Your Honor. The first time that I had borrowed his car, we came back to lunch, and one of his friends came up to me, and they're like, what are you doing in Mike's car? And we're like, oh, Mike said the keys are in the ignition, we can take it. He was like, oh, okay, that's cool. He got in the car, and he took off.
Who is
one of
this?
his other friends. Sean.
Sean came up to you and said that?
Yes. He came into the car and he took off with the car.
Sean took off with the car?
Yes.
How did you get the keys to the car on that date?
We said, oh, can I borrow your car, Mike? And he was like, go ahead. I was like, I don't have my license, I just have my permit. He's like,
How
I
did
don't
you
mind.
know my
The
name?
keys are
I've
in
never
the-"
met you. I
met
never met you before
day.
that.
He was like, oh, I don't mind. Go ahead. The keys are in the ignition.
Okay. Now,
Keys are in the ignition?
just a minute. Now you can stand up. I tell you this. Even though I have some question about how she got control of that car, you're responsible, because she's responsible. I have some serious questions as to whether, when he just gave her the keys to the car, this other girl who said, go get your things out of the car, I left a notebook there because I was in the car a day before. I'm not so sure. Your daughter has no right to drive a car, right?
Right.
She knows she has no right to be driving a car.
Correct.
She was driving the car in a negligent fashion because she had all of her balloons in the back so she couldn't see what was going on. So what makes you folks think she's not responsible?
Well, she is an unlicensed permit, has a permit only, and she was given the keys by the boy, and he knew that she didn't have a driver's license. Why would he give the keys to her
Where
when
is
she
her
don't have a driver's license?
Where is her responsibility?
She should have known. But
So, where is her
I dropped her off
responsibility?
at school. I expect her in school. And if she is tempted by someone else that's unresponsible and not driving the car, or in giving her the keys to drive the car, the school should have notified me. I can't be with her 24/7 watching over her. And it's high school. I mean, she's no little baby.
There is something wrong with you. Unless you're telling me that you're trying to make it a situation better. But if what you're telling me is that you actually believe that position, there is something seriously wrong with you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Michael Casey says schoolmate 16-year-old Lisa Kaup took his car without permission and wrecked it. Lisa says Michael willingly handed her the keys.
She's blamed everybody else but herself. I guess she gets that from you.
No.
It was the other lady who had plenty of room to go around them but didn't. It wasn't the fact that she couldn't see out of the back window because of all the balloons. It was the other lady's fault. It was his fault because he gave her the keys, or the other Lisa the keys, and Lisa gave her the keys. She has a responsibility. And since she has no money, it falls on you.
She shouldn't have been given the keys.
She had no right to take it.
I agree.
Let me ask you this question, sir. Where do you live?
Rosemead,
Where is that?
California.
Okay. Have you ever been to Las Vegas?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You're at the airport waiting to go to Las Vegas. You see a couple of pilots coming out. They're going to get on your plane. One of the pilots says, "Oi, I have such a terrible headache. Mr. Kaup, would you please take the keys to this 747? And would you take the plane and fly it into Las Vegas as a co-pilot, because you need two people in the front cockpit in case something happens to the pilot. Would you do that?"
No,
Why not?
I'm not going to jeopardize my life or other
Right,
people.
because you don't have the wherewithal to fly a plane.
Right.
You've not been properly trained to fly a plane. Even though this pilot gave you the keys and says, go start it up and take off.
I would have
You wouldn't
refused
be an
it.
idiot, would you?
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't be an idiot. Well, your daughter's an idiot.
She should have known
That's-
better. I agree.
Right, there we go. Now you're getting to some responsibility.
She should have said, no, I don't want the keys, but she didn't.
No, she went and asked for the keys. Don't you understand? He didn't say, even according to her, here, I'm going to find Lisa and give her the keys to the car because she's got all these balloons and flowers. They came looking for him, according to her story.
But he could have said no. He didn't have to say yeah. He knew that I didn't have a permit.
I think it's genetic.
I say no. When
You
my other
said-
daughters want to drive,
Right.
I tell them no. She should have been paying attention.
That's it. Now, look, at least I made a convert out of one of you. He didn't do the wrong thing. You did the wrong thing. I want you to repeat after me. I did the wrong thing.
I did the wrong thing.
That's better. That didn't hurt much, did it? Let me see the bill to fix your car.
There's that. There's the impound.
Did you get the car out?
No, it was useless. You couldn't be driven anymore.
You have pictures of this car?
Yes, I do.
Good.
Here we go.
How did you deal with the damage to the other car?
I'm pretty sure my insurance company paid for it.
Yes, Your Honor, may I interject here?
Stand up.
Actually, what had happened was I had contacted my insurance company and explained to them that my son had been involved in an accident, and the insurance follows the car. Therefore, my insurance covered the damage to the Lexus as a result of
The car that was damaged
Correct.
by her. That's a very good insurance
Yes.
company you have. So now I'm going to give you the bad news.
All right.
I don't believe your story. I believe that you are partially responsible. I think she's more responsible than you are. Your total damages were $1,992, and I am attributing 1/3 of those damages to you, 2/3 to her. That comes to $1,328. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. So you have to understand something. If you're given the keys to a car, and you're given a car to drive, you don't give those keys to anybody, whether they want to get a notebook, whether they want to listen to music, whether they want to do anything. You keep the keys to your car in your pocket, because the only one who's going to suffer out of this whole thing is your mother.
I understand.
Because her insurance is going to go up. She had a lot of aggravation, all because you wanted to be a nice guy. And as far as you're concerned, I have made your father a convert. Your father now understands the word responsibility. I hope that by repeating the phrase that I gave you 100 times in the mirror every night, you will also understand that if you do something wrong, you're supposed to fess up and say, I did it wrong, it was my fault. Do we understand each other?
Yes,
A
ma'am.
pretty face only gets you so far. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, this is case number 112 on the calendar in the matter of Moore versus Hightower.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Moore, you and the defendant had dated, and according to your complaint, you made loans to him. One large loan for his mortgage, and then some small loans for credit card charges. Mr. Hightower indicates that you did pay this money, but there was never a loan agreement and never an agreement to repay you. Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir.
When did you start to date the defendant?
Several months after my son was murdered.
When was that?
March of 2000. Probably about 3 or 4 months after that.
What was the first loan for and when?
In July of 2000, Donald showed me a letter that, the mortgage company had wrote, which showed that they were going to foreclose on his house.
I'd like to see the letter. Now, where were you when he showed you that letter?
At his house.
Were you living with him at the time?
No.
I want you to tell me the exact scenario that came about when he showed you this letter.
Can I kind of tell you what led up to this, my frame of mind? Yeah.
No. I don't want to know about your frame of mind. What I want to know about is the conversation, where you were. It's clear if you were dating him, then you liked him.
Right.
Also, based upon what you told me, what happened to your son in March, you were vulnerable. You were feeling slightly depressed. I understand that. However, this is still a situation where we have to deal with whether this was a loan or not a loan.
Okay.
So I want you to tell me where you were seated in the house, what the conversation was that led up to him showing you this letter.
Okay. I was sitting in the lazy boy chair, and he had all his bills right there, and he showed me the letter.
I mean, he just took this letter and said,
Well,
take a look at this?
everything was sitting right there, and he showed me this letter because we were talking about how he couldn't, afford to, take me out to dinner, and he felt bad about it.
It was in that context that he showed you this letter. I can't afford to
Right.
go out to dinner or
Right.
whatever because I have all these bills.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I had a lot of money at the time because of the life insurance policy from my son's death. And I felt really bad, because, he has these 2 wonderful children. One, she has Down syndrome, and she is a sweetheart. She's just so full of life. And I just couldn't see these children, August 4th, they were going to foreclose on the house, and where were they going to go? I felt terrible. And I'm trying to be a fixer-upper. I was trying to help them fix the situation. I know that I get a lot of money back from my taxes just claiming one child. So I knew when he gets his taxes back, I mean, he'll get $3,000 or $4,000, probably more than I do. And in order for me to negotiate with this EquiCorp, place, I called, them up and I said, well, what can we do to get this, straightened out? And they said, well, this amount of money needs to be mailed. So in order to, get him above water, I went and paid $4,500 towards it.
You have proof of that?
Yes, I do. This is a copy of the money order and the original.
Okay. Now after that, what did he say to you?
I'm trying to remember. This was a couple of years ago.
Well, you have to remember.
Your Honor, may I answer that?
No, not yet.
Well, he told me that he had other bills, and that wasn't really going to get him out of, hot water, because he was behind on all these credit cards. I mean, he had the banks, calling him constantly. He didn't like to answer the phone because of that. He said, well, I can't pay you back right away. And I said, I know. I said, I don't need the money right now. I have the money right now. I said, but, when you get your taxes back, I mean, just go ahead, and give me some money. And you don't have to give me the whole thing. I said, the next year, which was this year right here, give me the rest of the money, and that'll be that. And I said, you don't even have to pay me back the whole thing. It was over $7,000 is what it was. And I said, well, if you'll just make sure you pay me, I'll accept the $4,000.
So you agreed that he would pay you back $4,000?
Not at that time. This was later.
So at that time you didn't talk about him repaying you the money?
Oh, we did. We did, with his taxes, but we didn't negotiate a figure.
Okay. Well, when did you negotiate a figure?
February, I had wrote a letter to him, February 5th, which is right about tax time.
Could I see the letter, please?
And I was like, something was better than nothing.
Would you show this letter to the defendant, please? You recall receiving that letter, Mr. Hightower?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Good, thank you. When you received that letter, Mr. Hightower, what did you do?
I read it.
And after you read it, what did you do with it?
Tore it up and throw it in the trash.
Why?
Because when she did this, I told her not to do it because at the time, I was going through the separation and divorce, also going through a custody hearing. I told her that I not know when I'd ever be able to pay her back.
Are you still living in the house that she...
No, ma'am.
Who got the house?
It's been put on a lot for sale now. I moved out the end of February of this year.
Why?
They foreclosed on it in December.
How many months did you live there after summer of 2000?
I moved out of it February of 2002 of this year.
Oh, so her money helped you stay in that home?
I guess, but also too my
What do you
lawyer.
mean you guess?
My lawyer also helped. My attorney knew what was going on.
You had a lawyer?
Yes, ma'am. When I was going
Lawyer
through
for the custody case?
custody,
and
separation, and divorce, yes.
Did you pay your lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay your lawyer?
$1,500.
Do you still owe your lawyer?
No, ma'am.
So you took this letter and you threw it in the garbage?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a lot of nerve. You mean you didn't even answer her?
Ma'am, also, too, you got to realize a lot of things going on with her. One time she broke in my house just to show her brother my home through the kitchen and come back bragging about it.
So what?
The next time she went through my mail, took a credit card out of my mailbox.
Stop complaining. I'm asking you a question, sir. You get this letter, you don't respond to it, you take it and you throw it in the garbage. And then what you do is you justify those actions by little petty irritations. I'm asking you, if you couldn't give her back any money, and she clearly expected money over a year ago, why didn't you call her or write her a letter and say, I'm really suffering financially right now?
She knew I was.
How did she know?
She knew how I was.
What do you mean she knew? Were you in communication with her?
She knew that I was trying to raise 2 kids by myself.
Did you get custody of your children?
Yes, ma'am.
Then I suggest that you try to teach your children, Mr. Hightower, what being a person of good character is. You know, just because you're a warm body doesn't mean you're a father. Anything can be a father. Dogs are fathers, cats are fathers, fish are fathers. In order to be a father, a human being father, you're supposed to try to teach your children to have a good moral character. Somebody was nice to you. And what you do is you take the letter, you throw it in the garbage without even a response? Huh?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do you think there's a difference between going through a separation and a divorce and having one of your children suddenly taken from you?
Both of them are very emotional.
One you can cure, one you can't.
And later today,
I was not that close to her. She sped up to go around me.
She's trying to get away from you. If she sped up, she would have hit you straight on. Duh.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patty Lynn Moore says ex-boyfriend Donald Hightower owes for a loan to keep his home out of foreclosure. Donald says he told Patty Lynn he could never pay her back.
After you loaned him this money, Ms. Moore, how long after that did you stop seeing him socially?
Almost immediately.
And who terminated the relationship?
He did.
Tell me about it.
He didn't see that there was any, he didn't think that we would be able to have a relationship at the time. I was drinking some at the time. No excuse, but...
That's honest.
Alcohol is no place in any relationship, nor is it in anybody's life. It's like a disease. It just ruins.
Are you okay now?
Yeah, as far as the drinking, like I said, just bringing up this emotional stuff, I don't think, you don't ever get over the grieving, I mean, you deal with it, through grievance counseling, but you don't never get over the loss of a child. And
How old was your son?
22. I got the newspaper article.
Mr. Hightower.
Yes, ma'am.
How many children did Miss Moore have?
She had her daughter and her son that she told me about.
And she told you about the son as soon as you met her?
Yes, ma'am.
So you knew that shortly before this business with your home, she had suffered a loss and she had some money.
I didn't know she had any money. I never asked her.
Fine. So let's say you didn't know she had any money, but you knew she had suffered a loss.
Yes, ma'am, and I was sorry that happened.
And you were going through a great deal of turmoil in your life.
Yes, ma'am.
But none of your children died.
No, ma'am.
You think there's a difference between going through a separation and a divorce and having one of your children suddenly taken from you? You think there's a difference? You think there's a difference?
Both of them are very emotional.
Yeah. One you can cure, one you can't. And what I find most obnoxious about your behavior, sir, is that you didn't even bother to respond to this letter. You read it, you tore it up, and you threw it in the garbage because you were going through a great deal of stuff on your own. That's what you told me. Good character is what you're supposed to teach your children. If you don't have it, and they don't give classes for it, can't read a book on it, at least once in a while somebody is going to tell you when you have lousy character. You understand each other? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,400. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She wants everybody to play her on her sympathy.
There's nothing in this world worse than losing a child.
She's just trying to rule people's lives with her own.
I have the right to grieve.
She was just trying to steal my identity.
I don't think he has any identity.
I best just get rid of him, get on with my life.
When a loser is a loser, you're a loser. Why would I want to take the identity of a loser?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sims versus Cruz. Step forward, please.
Serviceman Billy Sims is suing the daughter of his late father's girlfriend, 21-year-old Christina Cruz. Billy says Christina stole a cell phone off of his father's dead body.
Mr. Sims, your father passed away in June of this year?
That's correct, Your Honor.
According to your complaints, he passed away. He had a heart attack in his car.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And the defendant was in the car with him, along with her boyfriend?
I'm not exactly sure if she was either in the car or if she was following behind him in another vehicle, but they were traveling together.
How did they know each other, do you know?
The defendant's mother had a relationship with my father.
Is that right? So your mom and his dad
were dating.
When his father had the heart attack, were you in the car with him?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh. And this is all about a cell phone.
That's correct.
Because it is your claim that the defendant took your dad's cell phone after he had the heart attack and died.
Yes, Your
in
Honor.
their presence
Yes,
in the
Your
car.
Honor.
And Ms. Cruz says that she has the cell phone, but that he gave it to her.
Okay.
June what did your father pass away?
It was June the 18th of this year, Your Honor.
What time?
I have a copy of his death certificate.
May I see it, please?
Sure. The coroner put his time of death at about 2:30 p.m. Of course, the...
Okay. Did there ever come a time when you got property that was on his person at the time that he died?
Yes, Your Honor.
When was that?
The following day, on the 19th, that morning, the county coroner called me and my brother to come and get his personal effects. Now, we had to get his vehicle.
Okay. What personal effects did you pick up?
Okay, I picked up his wallet, his checkbook.
Okay, wallet. Was there anything in the wallet?
His identification and some of those things.
Any cash?
There was no cash in his wallet, Your Honor.
Do you know where your father was going on the 18th of June?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. He was doing, my father was retired. He spent most of his time just doing yard work for people, doing handyman jobs really for little or no pay. And he was assisting the defendant's mother on doing some of this work.
Okay. When was the last time you had spoken to your father from the cell phone?
The morning before his death, probably maybe about an hour or an hour and a half before his actual death.
Did you call him or did he call you?
He called me twice, Your Honor.
From his cell phone. Prior to that, for what period of time had your father had this cell phone?
He's probably had the phone almost 2 years. He's had this cell phone, Your Honor.
And is that the phone that he uses primarily for his communication with you?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, now, Ms. Cruz, it is your claim, your defense, and you say you do have the phone, and you did use the phone, but that it was a gift to you.
Yes, Honor.
Now, I'd like you to tell me your version of the events when Mr. Sims' dad picked you up, because that's what happens. He picked you up along with this person?
Yeah.
Who was this
my
person?
Witness. Oh, that's my boyfriend.
So let me hear. He came and picked you up at your mom's home?
No, he came over my house and picked us up, and we were going to go swimming. But first, we were going to do some stuff for my mama.
Okay. Now tell me about the cell phone.
And he took me and my boyfriend to the side. And
To the side of what?
Of his truck.
Yes.
And said, y'all are like my kids and everything, and I'm going to give you my cell phone. But we have a deal. You pay me $50 a month. And we agreed on it. All three of us agreed on it.
Just a second. So you're saying he took you from the side of the truck and said, you're like my kids.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I want you to have my cell phone. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did he have another cell phone?
No, he
just had that one cell phone.
Just that one and the house phone.
Well, but he had the cell
Yeah.
phone. That was his cell phone.
Yeah.
And as long as you knew him, he had only used that cell phone. Is that right?
Yes, Your
Is
Honor.
that right? So on that day, he said to you, you're like my kids, I want you to have the cell phone.
Yes, Your Honor.
Liar! You're a liar.
There was other witnesses
Bald-faced liar. You took his cell phone off his dead body.
No, he
and you
was not
probably also took the cash out of his wallet before the police got there. Not a question in my mind. Why would a man, unless he anticipates his own death, who has used a cell phone for 2 years to communicate with the rest of the world, all of a sudden take you and this person who was sitting over here and say, I want you to have my method of communication? Why in the world would he do that? You're like my kids. If you're like my kids, then he goes and buys you a cell phone and said, here's a cell phone.
No, because he got tired of carrying it around and everything.
It was too heavy. It was too. Just a minute. Please do me a favor. Put your hand down. I don't have to listen to that baloney anymore. It's baloney. Could I please see the expenses that you are claiming for the cell phone?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did they use it, by the way?
Yes, Your Honor. They used it. Those 3 days, there were approximately about 400 minutes that were used. And I have those.
Well, just a minute. How much was the cost?
The total cost for the cell phone minutes, it was 35 cents a minute. I don't have that itemized, but.
Well, just a minute. Did you ever get a bill from them for this?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, I want to see the bill that you got.
This has the outstanding minutes that he had left over in excess that we had to terminate because it could have been transferred over to his next of kin. That's what the first statement says. That's from the wireless people.
No. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Sims. Listen to me. What you're saying is he had sort of credits, that it didn't cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars because they took the phone, but that you as his beneficiary or next of kin could have used those minutes if you wanted to from his cell phone plan. Is that what your plan is? Get a life. Where's the phone?
We don't have it anymore.
What'd you do with it?
The guy that was staying with him, Billy, his daddy, took it. And it's my brother.
Your Honor, there was no one staying with my father. He lived alone. But we asked her the Friday when we first found out that she was the one that had the phone. When she returned the phone call, She said that we were not going to get the phone back, that she got to the phone before we did, and that he's dead, and she's just as entitled to it as...
Let me tell you something. Some people will be happy, productive, moral people their whole lives, and they will raise, hopefully, happy, productive, moral offspring. And some will not. We're not talking about a lot of money, but we are talking about those people who have the capability of being moral people and those who lack the capability of being moral people. Yes, we're talking about a $40 phone bill, which you're going to get, and let's say your father really had a state-of-the-art telephone. A really good one costs $150, is that right?
Yes,
really
Your Honor,
good
it's
one?
on the estimate.
$150 plus 40 is $190. You don't get paid for the minutes, right? And I want you to, you have to feel sorry for them. I want you to feel sorry for them. Don't be angry with them. They're never going to be able to get smarter. They're never going to get morals that anywhere relate to what civilized people do, because anybody they could take property off a dead person, which is what they did, will never change. Because I don't believe that anybody, your father's age, drives a car and rides around with not a dollar in his wallet.
That's correct, Your Honor.
I don't believe that that happens. That doesn't happen. So if you're a death scavenger, you're never going to change. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $190. That's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Burdock versus Mayo, step forward, please. This is case number 296 on the calendar in the matter of Richter versus Parker. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Richter, you and the defendant were best friends, according to the complaint that I've read. You claimed that you made a series of loans to her. She did not pay you back. As a result of that, you didn't have enough money to allow your daughter to be on the cheerleading squad. Ms. Parker says that you always made more money than she did. You were best friends. There was never any loan. You did things together, and you paid for it because you had more money.
Yes.
How long have you been friends?
Approximately 8 years.
And tell me about the first loan that you claim to have made.
Well, the first loan, I was approached in May of 2001. Debbie needed to attend a wedding out of state, and her credit cards were maxed out, so she needed to use mine to purchase the tickets for the airlines.
Who was supposed to go to the wedding?
Debbie and her daughter, Jessica.
Only the two of them?
Yes.
Was this
correct.
a wedding that you were supposed to attend as well?
I was approached about attending the wedding a few months earlier, and I had let Debbie know that I would not be unable to attend.
At the time you put her tickets on your credit card, had you already told her that you weren't going to the wedding?
Yes, I had already told her weeks before that I would not be attending.
And how much were those tickets?
The airline tickets were $500.
Let me see. Did you ask her to put your airline tickets on her credit card?
I told Cheryl that I wasn't going to be able to go to the wedding because I didn't have enough funds, and she offered to help me, but not with the understanding that I would pay her back. Cheryl has always helped me in the past, and if there was ever agreement to pay her back, I always have.
So you tell me your version of how it came about, because now I understand that she actually did pay for the tickets, and I want you to tell me how it came about.
How it came
Look
about,
at me.
Yes. How it came about was that myself and my daughter, Jessica, we were going to go with Cheryl and Lauren back to my niece's wedding. While we were back east, we were going to also go to New York, hang out, have some fun, and we've gone on vacations many times before. When the time came closer to purchase the tickets, Cheryl did tell me that she could not go. I think she had something going on with her daughter, but it wasn't very early on in the planning. It was fairly close, maybe a month or two before we were going to go.
A month or two was not very close. Not the last minute, as you indicate in your answer to me. Say at the last minute she canceled out. She did not cancel out at the last minute. She canceled out at least a month before.
It could have been a month before.
She didn't cancel out. She said, I'm not going. Go ahead.
Right.
And you said?
I said, okay. And I hung up. Went on with my couple of weeks before I was getting ready to go. When I was going to make airline arrangements for myself and my daughter, I found that I did not have the funds at that time. And I called Cheryl and we talked. She offered to put this...
No, talking. Tell me what you did when you called her.
But it wasn't unusual for us to call each other.
You just told me you called her.
Right. I called her. We talked on the phone.
What did you say to her and what did she say to you?
We probably said, how's
Not
Lauren
probably.
doing? I don't remember the exact conversation word by word, but I did tell her that I didn't think I was going to be able to go because I didn't have the funds.
Cheryl offered to put it on her credit card.
Okay. And you have to pay her back.
This isn't unusual.
No good deed is... Shh, be quiet.
In the past, if she has
I don't
ever
care
lent
about...
me any
Listen to
money,
me.
I have always paid her back.
Listen to me, my
This
dear.
was not an
Listen
arranged-
to me, my dear. This was your niece's wedding.
Yes.
Your answer suggested that this was a wedding that you were both supposed to go to, that at the last minute she canceled out. She had put all the tickets on her credit card. She said, I'm not going. But for the fact that you were going together as a group, you wouldn't have gone at all. That's not really what happened. What happened is she gave you plenty of notice. I'm not going to the wedding. I have something else to do, a month or two in advance. You were going to put it on your credit card. You didn't have enough credit on your credit card. You pick up the phone, you call her, because that's what you just started to tell me.
Yes.
You have to pay her back. What's the next loan for?
After she returned from the wedding, approximately a week later, she called me and told me that she needed to borrow some cash to pay bills either towards her rent or utilities or what have you. She needed $500 and wanted to know if I would be able to lend that to her. I said that I would, and outside of the airline tickets, there's the hotel expenses on there as well when she went to the wedding. And I went to her house and I brought her a check, and she still told me that she would be paying me back within about approximately 2 months.
Do you have a copy of that check?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? Okay. Let's hear about it, Miss Parker.
Up until right now, when she just handed you the check, I did not remember that. I did not remember about $500. I was going to come here and tell you I didn't owe it because I didn't remember.
Yeah, I see in your answer that you say that she never gave you any cash. Okay. What else?
Then after that, we went to a concert.
After that, when?
September, Labor Day weekend. The four of us. I purchased all 4 concert tickets and was to be reimbursed for the concert tickets as well as the charges on the credit card and the $500.
How much were the concert tickets?
Each ticket was $56.25, so it was $102.50 for the 2 concert tickets.
What about the concert tickets?
In August, we met at Islands to celebrate my daughter's birthday. She told me that weekend she had tickets to go to a concert, and she invited us to go. We went. She never said anything about paying her back. She was a good friend of mine.
Was a good friend. A good friend doesn't borrow money and
then
not
why
pay
didn't you
it
ever
back.
say anything? I mean, our children talked online for a year, and she never said anything to me about this. And also, they invited us to her house for 4th of July. What was that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't have that kind of money either, so I had to use the fundraising.
We could have raised the funds to pay.
You could have asked.
Listen
you
to
could
me.
have just said something to me.
Ladies.
Instead of waiting a year and then doing this to me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cheryl Richter claims former friend Debbie Parker owes for several unpaid loans. Cheryl says her daughter can't be a cheerleader until Debbie repays the money.
Miss Parker, let me ask you this question. What do you think
I don't know.
This? Maybe it was because she felt taken advantage of. If you didn't
If
remember...
she would have just said one word to me like, I need help, can you help me?
Well, when was the first time she told you that she wanted you to give her this money back?
On July 5th of this year,
Yes.
I received a letter. I tried to contact her to make some type of arrangements. I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on. She never returned my calls.
And you can't think of any reason that happened?
I was hoping to find out from her why she's doing this to me, why she's standing there lying.
No, there's no lying. There's no lying.
When
you did, in fact, listen to me, Miss Parker. You did, in fact, borrow $500. You said to me, I didn't remember it until I saw the check.
That's
okay.
true.
So it's $500, and it's well over a year. You never paid her back. But there had to be something, July 4th, something must have triggered it. I read her complaint. She says what triggered it was she didn't have money to sign her daughter up for cheerleading.
That's correct. And in fact, when we went to the concert in September, first of all, Debbie did acknowledge that she owed the money. She told me she had forgot her checkbook. And she told me that she was sorry that she hadn't paid me back yet. And she was coming over the next night for dinner. And when she came over that night, she was out of checks.
That's not true.
And then I ran into her After that, in October, I believe, having dinner and drinks with coworkers, my daughter ran into her at the mall shopping at Christmas. And
Right.
in April of 2002, when my daughter was to try out for an all-star cheer squad, she went to the practices. She was approached by the coach. She was a year too young for the squad, but because her abilities were up to the level of the squad members, they would make an allowance. Well, I wasn't able to allow her to try out because I found out the cost was $2,000.
$2,000 to try out for cheerleaders?
For the entire year, including travel expenses. They're a top-ranked team in the nation, so they go to Texas and Florida for nationals. It would be for all the training as well as all of the uniforms.
Did you have to come up with the $2,000 up front?
Within a few weeks, so there was no time for me to fundraise to try to raise that money. So the coach called me the day of tryouts inquiring about whether or not she was going to try out. I just told the coach owner that I didn't know. I was embarrassed to tell her that I couldn't afford it.
Okay, so you got irritated.
I got irritated. Plus, Debbie's daughter, Jessica, is on a cheer squad, and she was able to find the $1,500 for her to participate last year and is once again on that cheer squad. Yet I'm saying no to my daughter because of her debt.
Gotcha.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I saw Cheryl, yes, out when I was at a restaurant with her girlfriend. Cheryl came in, no problem. Hey, we hugged. I go, my God, you look great. You just got back from Tahiti. She wasn't angry with me. She didn't say a word to me about any of this.
Something happened. I have a sense that whatever happened...
Maybe it was this whole thing about cheerleading, but let me tell you, please, I didn't pay a penny for her to go on cheerleading. So you should get your facts right.
Talk to me.
I didn't pay a penny.
Did she have a scholarship?
No. I fundraised. I sold entertainment books to get her on the cheerleading squad at her high school. Because I don't have that kind of money either, so I had to use the fundraising.
We could have raised the funds to pay.
No.
You could have asked.
Listen
you
to
could
me.
have just said something to me.
Ladies.
Instead of waiting a year and then doing this to me.
Miss Parker, please don't fight with each other. Gone beyond that. Just think about this. She can't fundraise to pay you back.
I understand that.
You understand that. And it's really unfortunate that a friendship denigrated to where we are. I have a feeling it is about the cheerleading. She's told you that she didn't have the money, that she fundraised. You didn't have time to do that. And I assume that it has to do with your kids, because nothing could make a mother get the tentacles out.
I just feel that this debt was not a priority to her. She found
May not have
had
been.
the time and the effort
It
to...
may not have been.
But she owes me the money, and it doesn't
She
matter.
owes you the money.
It doesn't matter if I make more money. It doesn't matter if I make less money. She owes me the money.
You are absolutely 100% right. There is no faster way of destroying a friendship than lending money. Period. I'm much older than you ladies are, and I'm telling you, based upon what I've seen, the one who lends the money always ends up as the bad one. They want it back. It's not a good time. They don't need it right now. Why is she doing this, or why is he doing this to me?
Can I say something, Your Honor?
It's not going to make it any better with her. She wants her money. She's angry. She's entitled to her money. I don't know if you can ever repair. Are you two kids friends?
Not really.
Say no. She says.
I thought we talked to her online.
She doesn't talk to her online. She
doesn't.
Oh, well, that's
You
sad.
haven't? Shh. We just talked. She just talked to her, and I told her about my daughter's medical problem, and she said, "What a bummer." Okay. I cannot believe that you would sit in here and lie, Lauren. I can't believe
wouldn't
that.
be accusing anybody of lying.
She's going to lie
I don't
that
want
she
to hear
just
about
talked
it
to
anymore. You're
Jessica?
going to 1, 2, 3.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cheryl Richter claims former friend Debbie Parker owes for several unpaid loans. Cheryl says her daughter can't be a cheerleader until Debbie repays the money.
Listen, your emotions are hot. And it's very sad because the girls aren't friends anymore, and you're not friends anymore. That's what happens when you lend money, when you borrow money, unless you have an agreement. I've always said, if you're going to be a lender, at least put it in writing. Then everybody knows the parameters. Don't be embarrassed. You have to say, listen, Judge Judy Scheindlin said, even though we're best friends, even though we're brother and sister, even though we're cousins, we really should have a writing. That way, everybody knows where they're at. Do you understand? Because they're sad. They're unhappy. They used to be friends. And it is sad. I'm not going to be able to fix it except to say that you're entitled to your money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't like this because me and Jessica aren't friends anymore because our parents have a disagreement. Well, me and her were like best friends, and I don't know, it's just unfortunate that we're not going to be able to be friends. I really want to be friends with Jessica again. Well, I know it won't happen, but I just want to be friends with her again.
Every time I'm with her or around her, I've been brought pain.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of DeVault versus Eddie. Step forward.
21-year-old student Amy DeVault is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old car salesman Cliff Eddy, for the down payment on a car and for several unpaid loans.
Mr. DeVault, according to your claim, the defendant owes you for a down payment that you loaned to him for a car.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Eddy, if I'm reading your answer correctly, sir, you acknowledge that she gave you the down payment for the car. Is that right?
That's correct.
And it was a loan.
That's correct.
But you say she owes you money, so it's a wash.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we can go over the basics very quickly. You were living together with him when you made this loan?
For a very short time, yes.
What's the short time?
I probably had moved in and moved out within a matter of 4 or 5 days.
And during that 4 or 5 day period is the time that you made this loan?
Yes.
Don't you ever watch this courtroom? Ever? Did you ever see the cases here?
Yes.
Did you ever learn anything?
I've learned a lesson now.
Sometimes you have to get burned yourself, and you can't learn by somebody else's mistakes. But I want you to keep watching. And how much was the down payment that you loaned to him?
The down payment was $1,000, and the loan was just over $1,000 for the coverage in case we couldn't make a payment.
You're suing for $1,711. What's the rest of the money for?
I had moved in with him, and I'd given him $200 for my share of the rent. I had also paid a few bills for him, which he ensured that I would be reimbursed for, a water bill and groceries, things like that. I bought tons of things for him. You know, I'll pay you back. I just don't have money right now, he assured me. He'd lost his job, and he had paychecks that had insufficient funds behind them.
I mean, all this happened in the 4 or 5 days?
No, we had been dating for a couple of months.
According to your complaint, you have some sort of an IOU that he wrote.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to see it. Where did you get this note from?
From a store where you purchase stationary legal documents.
When did you purchase this?
In the beginning of June.
Last June?
Yes.
And tell me what days you lived with him?
Approximately the end of May, beginning of June.
And what made you have him sign this June 30th note?
I had moved out and I wanted the money for the rent money that I had given him, and I wanted it back because I didn't live there for more than 2 or 3 days in June, which the money was for June's rent, and he had spent it.
Show this to him, please. Is that your signature, sir?
Yes, it is.
So you signed this note for $315, right?
That's correct.
Now, I'm just curious, Mr. Vault, what happened to the $1,000 for the car?
After the loan had gone through, we went to the bank and we had cashed.
No, but I'm asking you is you moved out.
Yes.
Right? So why would you have him sign a note for $315 when actually he owed you, according to you, at least $1,300? Why is this only for $315?
I have a second contract.
Let me see it. All right. Well, we're talking about two different things. You took out a loan. Now, was this the loan for the car?
Yes.
All right. He's paid off the car loan.
No,
Is that right, sir?
No.
That's what you said.
I paid off the balance of the vehicle. This was a separate loan through Wells Fargo Bank.
For what?
For $1,000 cash, down payment for the vehicle.
Oh, I see. This you didn't pay off?
No.
Okay. Now, your defense is, sir, that she owed you money.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Well, we started dating. We were dated for about 4 or 5 months. She was in a sorority house then, and she would stay over at my house frequently, almost every night. When summertime came, you have to leave the house for the summer. So she moved in with me then. In the process of that, I was working at a dealership in Corvallis there, and I was looking for another vehicle. I went down to...
Could you get what she owes you money for, sir? Is that what we're getting to?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what we're getting to.
Let's get there faster.
Okay. But I went down to the bank to get the loan. I couldn't get the loan because I have bad credit. So she was living with me at the time. She offered to help me out with that. We did that. There was no necessarily written contracts or anything of that
Get
nature.
to what she owes you money for, sir. I already got that part of the story. I finished with that. What does she owe you money for? What do you think? I don't remember my question? I'm not that old. Get there. Go ahead.
Well, she owes me money for the $315. I don't think is a necessary reimbursement. Other than that, the vehicle loan was paid off. There was no written contract for that. I don't think that I owe that money. The $315.
Listen to me.
It should be a wash.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I want you to tell me. I don't want you to tell me, sir, that this you don't think is right, and this you don't think is right. Your defense to this case is she owes me money, and therefore the $1,700 she's suing me for, the loan and the promissory note, it's a wash because she actually owed me about the same amount of money. That's your defense. Now, so you either have two things that you can do. Either you can say to me, I didn't know what I was doing when I wrote my answer because she really doesn't owe me any money. And my defense is, blah. Or you can tell me what she owes you money for.
She lived with me for about 4 months.
Okay, go ahead. She lived with you for 4 months. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, she lived with me for about 4 or 5 days, about 2 weeks, I would rather say. About 2 weeks. But the whole time prior to that, she was staying at my house almost every single day.
Yes.
And that was a matter of bills and whatnot.
Go ahead. So what does she owe you?
My duplex ran about $750 a month was my rent, plus the bills. All the bills were in my name. I lived there by myself.
Yes.
For the whole time together, I think that it should be a washout. It's a washout.
When she would come over and stay at your duplex with you, did she also maintain a room in the college dorm or someplace else?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you pay for half of that rent?
No.
Did you ever have an agreement with her to pay for half the rent while she was staying over at your
No.
house periodically?
Mm-mm.
So I want you to go like this. Blah, 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 blah. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Keck versus Soleil. Step forward, please.
Bookkeeper Barbara Keck is suing her daughter's friend, 19-year-old receptionist Amanda Soleil, for causing her car to be towed and impounded.
Miss Keck, the defendant was living with your family.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
I assume she was a friend of your daughter's?
Yes.
You allowed her to use one of your cars. It was an older car. She had run into some transportation problems. She relied on her boyfriend, according to your complaint, for transportation. I assume this is boyfriend Jeff.
Yes.
Hi.
Right? And at some point, after a period of time, the car broke down.
Yes.
The car broke down at Jeff's place of employment.
Right.
The car was subsequently towed and impounded. You had considerable fees to get the car out of tow, and you believe that the defendant should be responsible for paying those fees.
Yes, I did.
She says the car was a piece of junk, basically.
I don't have a problem with that.
When did she come to live with your family?
I think it was in May, either early or latter part.
Why?
I understand that she and her mother weren't getting along, and her mother had asked her, just go on and live somewhere else.
What would make you take her into your house?
She's my daughter's friend and had been since senior in high school. They're both in college now. And she'd been over to the house and dinners and, proms and all that. So we were all good friends.
Did you charge her any rent?
No.
When did you give her the car to use?
Maybe early August.
Tell me about that.
She and Jeff were in a traffic accident, which totaled his truck. So, after they came over and they were at dinner at our house, I think, talking about things, and I said, well, how are you going to get around? And so we just decided, well, shoot, we've got this Mazda, we'll let her use it.
Now, you tell me what happened with the car and when.
After she gave it to use it, it was September 6th, and I was dropping Jeff off at work.
So we'd used it for a while? You'd used it for about a month?
For about a month, yes. And I dropped him off at work that morning, and
as I was saying goodbye, it just died, and which is normal because the whole time I used it, it would stop at stoplights, just like she said, and this time it just died. I couldn't get it to click over or anything, so we pushed it back into a parking spot, and I said to him, well, I'm going to have a car anyway, so we might as well go buy a car now. So he used a company truck, took me home. I called in sick to work, and then I went to buy a car. And after I bought the car, I came home that day. It was about 4 o'clock, and I told Barbara, I said, Barbara, come look at what I bought. So I came out to the driveway, and I said, I bought a car, and she goes, well, what prompted you to do this? And I said, well, your car broke down today on the way taking Jeff to work. And she said, oh, I said, well, I left it at Jeff's work. And then she said that she would talk to her husband, Bernard, about it, and they would discuss what we would do about it when he comes home the next day.
I'm not ready for you yet.
Oh, okay.
And did you have another discussion with Barbara?
During the period of the next week, it just kind of came up off and on. Nobody really said anything. I worked full-time, and we never sat down and totally discussed it.
Well, instead of going and buying a new truck that day, why didn't you call a tow truck and have the car towed back home?
Like, I've never had a car towed on me before, and I really didn't know what to do.
Well, you knew enough to go and buy a car. You have to fill out forms, you have to take it to be registered, you have to go to motor vehicles, you have to get insurance, right? And to get a car towed, you have to pick up the phone and look in the yellow pages and find towing and call and say, come pick up the car, and would you please bring it back to my residence? Now, which one seems harder to you?
Probably buying the car.
Right. And the towing fees were $455.
Right.
Well, you explained to me, young lady, why you don't think you are responsible for that.
Well, I feel that because I feel because the car was in her name, and the day that it broke down, I did come home and I did let her know.
After you bought a new car?
Yeah. Well, at the time, that seemed like the right thing to do to me. I don't.
No, it seemed like the selfish thing to do.
Buying the car was my idea.
Excuse me?
Buying the car was my idea. I had the money saved up, and I just said, you know.
Is anybody talking to him? Are you still living at her house?
No.
You lived there for how long?
From June until early September.
3 months she didn't charge you any rent?
Right.
Not $50 a month, not $100 a month. I assume you ate breakfast there. You said you had some dinners there. Jeff came over and ate there. Did she charge you when Jeff came over and ate dinner?
No, she didn't.
Nice lady. And let you have a car. There's no issue. Where's the issue? Why are we here? It was your responsibility to bring the car home and say, now I've fulfilled my responsibility. It was given to me in the driveway. I've returned it to the driveway. You got it? And if he thinks that that's wrong, oh, I'm dying to hear from him.
You're dying. Okay.
Stand up!
She said, okay, when she gave us that car, it breaks down at stoplights. If you crash it, I don't care. Just don't get it stolen. The insurance doesn't cover that. If it breaks down, leave it. If it does this, does that, leave it. I don't care. The car's garbage. It's an 83 or 86, doesn't matter. It's got over 200,000
Sit down. This lady was very nice to you. Mr. Responsibility over here doesn't get it together as much as he should. You know, he doesn't understand that as an adult you have certain responsibilities. You should understand that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $485. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 440 on the calendar in the matter of Sullivan versus Sims. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Sullivan, I assume this is your daughter, is that right? And this is your son-in-law?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, your daughter and son-in-law purchased a car that was for your benefit. That was back in March of last year.
Correct.
And the agreement was that you would make a monthly payment that would cover the car payment and insurance.
Correct.
To your daughter and son-in-law.
Correct.
And you would have the car, and when the car was paid off, I assume it would be yours. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You did have the car for a period of time. Then you had an accident with the car in a parking lot. And you called your son-in-law.
Yes.
According to you, you put a note on the car.
Yes.
Did you put the note on the other car, or did your son-in-law?
I put it on the car that I hit, right
Yes.
next to me.
On the note was?
My name, phone number, and that I worked next door at Randall's, and the phone number.
You believe he took the note off the car you
They-
hit?
yes.
Because they never contacted you.
Correct.
And there was damage to that car.
Yes.
You didn't do that, did you, Mr. Sims?
No, ma'am.
And shortly thereafter, Mr. Sims repossessed the car and sold it. You are suing, according to your complaint, for the whole value of the car.
Correct.
Which you're not entitled to. So let's be realistic. Let's say you're suing for the payments that you made on the car. April, May, June, July, and August, if you made the 5 months worth of payments.
Mm-hmm. And I did not miss a payment.
Okay.
I was
And
told...
that's your statement. I did not miss a payment.
And
that was our agreement, and he had no right to take the car back,
Right.
and therefore I want the payments. How much were your payments each month?
Well, he told me $200 when we signed the original agreement. $200 a month. That included insurance.
How much was the insurance on the car, Mr. Sims?
$62.96.
Mr. Sims, how much did you pay for the car?
I purchased the car for $1,500. I put $600 of the repairs to the car because I purchased it damaged.
Okay, and you sold it when?
About 2 weeks ago.
And how much did you sell it for?
$3,200.
And how much did you pay to fix it as a result of the accident that your mother-in-law had?
What she did, she bent the door around to the fender.
Just tell me how much you paid to fix it.
$150, but it didn't fix it correctly. It just made the door open and close. It did not repair the car back to the original condition.
Say nothing. Yet. Say nothing
Okay.
yet.
All right.
So let's say you spent $2,200 on the car.
Correct.
You sold it for $3,200, giving you $1,000 profit, and your mother-in-law gave you $137 a month times 5 equals $685.35. So you got that too.
Correct.
So this is going to take care of your counterclaim, because you're suing her for $660 for miscellaneous damages incurred in relation to the car. That's your counterclaim. That's out, because you had no loss, sir. You have a profit.
All right, I understand.
You have a profit. So you suffered no damage. So your counterclaim is dismissed. Now let's talk about what your mother-in-law wants.
Okay, I need to speak.
Now I'm ready.
He works at a body shop. He didn't pay nothing to have that car fixed.
I don't care whether he did or whether he didn't.
And he
I don't-
raised
that
the
has nothing-
payments.
that has nothing to do with you.
He raised my payments from
To what?
$200 to $230 a month.
When did he
Before
change
I made the first payment, I'm sorry.
Just a second.
April.
Okay,
April
230.
11th. He raised it.
Is that right, sir?
Well,
is that right or wrong? She has proof. I'm sure she has checks or
here.
whatever. Is that
yeah,
correct?
we agreed on the raise of the payment. It was due to the insurance increase.
So we have 230 less 62.96, 167.04 times 5, $835.20. I'm going to give you 1 minute, Mr. Sims, to explain to me why you don't think that you owe your mother-in-law $835.20.
We had an agreement that she was going to purchase the car, like you said. But also in that agreement, no one was supposed to drive the car. Well, she was letting the other brother-in-law drive the car, which I had a witness see him in the car. Also, she took the car to Chicago against my wishes, taking it out of town. Our original agreement was that the car was mine. I purchased the car, put it in my name, I put the insurance in my name, I registered it in my name, and I told her, here's the car, this is what we're going to do. You pay the car to me each month, and then when 13 months are over, I'll sign it over to you, do whatever you like. But in the time that you're driving the vehicle, the liability is on me with my insurance and everything covering me. I don't want anyone driving it. Drive it, do your errands, run back and forth to work. But I don't want the car leaving the state. I don't want the car going anywhere. Just keep it here in town.
Mrs. Sims, I read that. I read your defense, sir. However, your problem is you didn't take it back from her then.
Okay, you're right.
You took it back from her when she had an accident in the parking lot.
I didn't take it back from her. What she did, she was letting people drive the car. Then when she damaged the car, then when she damaged the vehicle, she brought the car to me and handed me the keys and wanted me to fix the vehicle. The daughter-in-law got upset with me and mad because I wouldn't file an insurance claim against my own policy to make me pay the increase over the next 3 years. And so they started feuding all over again. That's when I talked with her and I asked her, hey, we need to do something different here. Can you go get a loan for the balance due on the car? I can sign the car to you and we can quit all this fighting and carrying on and be done with it. You can do what you like. She agreed to go get her own loan.
Stop playing with the papers.
Sorry.
She went out, tried 2 or 3 different banks. No one would loan her the money because of her past history and her credit. It's so horrible she couldn't get it. So then she comes to me and says, you know what, I'm going to save the money for 6 weeks. Can you hold the car 6 weeks and I'll pay you in full? 4 weeks go by. She calls my wife and says, I got $20 to my name, I can't pay it. I said, okay, what are we going to do now? She said, well, I'm just going to take you to court and sue you for my interest. I said, well, how about I give you all your money back? I offered to give her every penny she paid, including the insurance. She agreed to that too. Then on Sunday morning, she calls and tells me, no, she don't want to do that either.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't know whether or not you took off the note, if there was a note placed on the other car in the parking lot. If you did, that was a foul thing to do.
And later today,
the vet told us there was no way the cat could have broken its leg in 5 places just from tossing off the side. She had to have been pretty much slammed to the ground to have broken it the way it did.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Phyllis Sullivan says son-in-law Chip Sims repossessed her car for absolutely no reason. Chip says Phyllis has been irresponsible with the vehicle.
What you should have done, Miss Sullivan, is take him up on his offer. Because if he was willing to give you all the money that you paid in the car, including the insurance, you should have accepted it. Because from me, you're only going to get the money that you paid on the car itself, less the insurance.
Your Honor.
Yeah, what?
The car, I mean, this was a business contract. I couldn't get a loan because I filed bankruptcy.
Show me the business contract.
Right?
Show me the contract. Show me what it says. Show me the
Can I say
contract.
something? Shh. Nobody drove that car. His so-called character witness has a warrant for his arrest for hitting a police officer.
Would you please stop talking and hand me the contract?
I'm sorry.
You don't have one.
There's the contract. This is my thing from bankruptcy. And
no, listen to me. I asked you for the contract.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did you ever have a conversation with your mother about somebody else driving the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me when.
Less than a month into the deal with the car.
Tell me what the conversation was.
I called her to let her know that we had spoken to a fellow family member who saw someone else driving the car. When I asked her about it, she proceeded to cry and say, I would never do something like that. You told me you didn't want anyone driving the car. I wouldn't do that. I would never hurt you or Chip like that. That's our agreement. I wouldn't let someone drive the car.
Okay. I have to make a determination as to what your damages are, Miss Sullivan.
Okay.
And by the way, Mr. Sims, I don't know whether or not you took off the note, if there was a note placed on the other car in the parking lot. If you did, that was a foul thing to do. Otherwise, I cannot understand why somebody would not have contacted you to have their car fixed. It's not reasonable that if you come out and you see somebody left their name and number and said, I hit your car.
Right.
That they would not contact that person unless the note was taken off the car. In any event, I believe that you're entitled to, based upon this agreement, you're entitled to your money back, because this agreement says that if at any time I default upon my payments, Ronald has the right to take the car back, and I will forfeit any payments already made. She never defaulted on her payments, so you had no right to take her car back.
I didn't take the car back. She brought the car to me.
I don't believe that's true. And I believe that you made a profit. That's just shit, quiet. I believe that you made a profit on the car. You don't have to make a really handsome profit. So instead of making $1,838, you're only going to make $1,000 worth of profit.
Because she'd already filed this suit once, which I had to hire an attorney to fight her the first time, that she never showed up to court. I had to
I don't
fight
have
her.
that. Listen to me, Mr.
dismissal.
Sims. Mr. Sims.
I've got the original court date and a dismissal from it.
Pay careful attention to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have that as part of a counterclaim.
Right.
In any event, what I'm telling you is, you have the right, if you sold the car, you made a profit. Your profit was in excess of $1,000.
Well, I kept the car for 5 months waiting to solve this case, waiting to go to court, which we had our court date. She didn't appear.
What difference does it make, sir? What difference does it make as far as the profit that you made?
Right, exactly.
She put in $835.20. That's less the insurance over a 5-month period, and she's entitled to get it back under your contract. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just want them out of my life. I just want to go on about my own life and let her live her life, let me live mine.
He couldn't claim it on his insurance because he's got too many other insurance claims going on.
This isn't the first time in my life my mother's disappointed me.
My son-in-law, Chip, told me that I'm putting the stake in the family.
We warned her before she filed this suit to let her know she would never see me and she would never see her grandson again. She continued to do it, and I'm going to stand by my word.
I'm very hurt. I'm going to miss my daughter and my grandson.
Yeah, this is case number 408 on the calendar in the matter of Baker versus Baker. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mrs. Baker, the defendant is your former husband, and I gather from your complaint that despite the fact that you are divorced, you still maintain a relationship. Is that correct? Or you did at the time of this incident. Is that right?
Yes.
You allege that Mr. Baker assaulted you. You want him to pay for the medical expenses as well as lost wages and pain and suffering as a result of that assault. Mr. Baker says the truth of the matter is that you assaulted him, and despite the fact that he did not sustain any physical injury that required treatment, he was in fact arrested, as you were, and he wants you to pay for all of his out-of-pocket expenses, including his attorney's fees. That is his counterclaim. So I'd like you to tell me, Mrs. Baker, your version of the events of the 15th of September.
Okay, September 15th was a Sunday. We were home watching football. My daughter, my oldest daughter, had come into town from her boot camp. And
How old is she?
She is 19. There's animosity between my daughter and Mr. Baker from a previous assault that he assaulted her. Anyway, we were bringing up the fact that I wanted Shauna to come over and visit, and he didn't want her in the house. She came over to make peace.
She had actually come to the house?
Yes, and I said to him, my daughter wants to make peace with you. Would that be okay? And he got very upset and said, no, you were supposed to give me 24 hours notice if she's going to be around, and she needs to leave.
And so she left?
Yeah, so she left.
Okay.
So we continued with the football. I apologized to him. I was trying for him not to be mad. I always have to make sure he doesn't stay mad. And he started calling her just horrible names, and I begged him to stop. I actually was on my knees in front of the couch pleading with him, please stop saying all those horrible things about her. I slapped him on his face, and I realized that I shouldn't have done that because now I'm going to get in big trouble. And he did come up. He got me into a chokehold. At one point, I was actually sitting on the ground. He had me in a neck hold. He had his fist right over top of me, and he said, do you want me to finish this right now? And I stopped talking because up until then I was calling him a coward and that he only bullies girls, and he bullies my daughter and bullies women, but he never bullies any men. So anyway, he pushed me back down. My face went down, and I never saw it coming. I never got a chance. And he kicked me in the face and just threw me back. Blood just started gushing out. I leaned over the coffee table. I vomited blood. And I asked him, do you want to call the police or do you want me to call the police? And he ran and hid.
What kind of injuries did you sustain?
They took me to the hospital. I have a broken nose. The broken nose, a concussion.
You have a hospital report?
Yes.
Now, can I see the police report, please?
It's a two-part police report.
Can I have his as well so that I can make sure I have all the reports?
Because it was a domestic violence, they had Jane Doe and John Doe.
Had you been drinking?
Yes, we both had been.
You both been drinking vodka and orange juice?
Yes.
Was that the drink of choice? How much had you been drinking that day, both of you?
I was drinking my fourth cocktail in about probably 4 hours.
And you?
Probably about the same.
Think that contributed to getting the situation getting out of hand?
I don't know. He drinks an awful lot, a lot more than I do.
Did you tell the police that after you slapped him in the face with your open hands and there was an altercation where he was pushing you down on the couch that you were trying to hit him in the testicles and stomach?
That's when
Did you tell that to the police?
Yes.
And that was before he kicked you?
Yes.
All right, let me hear your version of these events, sir.
It happened pretty much along the same lines she says, but without a few details. I was sitting on the couch, we were both sitting on the couch watching a football game, and we were cheering for the same team, having a good time, and we had argued previously on the previous day about her daughter, and I have a problem with her daughter, and she has a problem with me. And because of our history, it's just not a good idea to have her in our house while I'm there. And all I asked for was a reasonable time of notice so that I could leave, and she can spend as much time as she wants to with her daughter. She did not go along with it on that night because her daughter's getting out of boot camp and she's here visiting. And I said, fine, but I don't want to be here. So she wants me to make up with her daughter. I don't want to make up with her daughter. She made a false statement against me and told the police that I assaulted her 6 months ago, when in fact it was her and my wife that got into the fight. I don't want her in my house,
Gotcha.
period.
Okay. So what happened after your wife slapped you?
She didn't slap me, Your Honor. She punched me in the jaw. She punched me there. She punched me a second time in the shoulder. She grabbed my back. Then she grabbed my wrist. She threw me to the floor. I got a rug burn on this knee. Then as I was attempting to stand up, she grabbed me again. I have photos of that also, of everything, of my injuries. Also the medical report on the back. All of these things happened before her nose was injured.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Here you said, so I lightly slapped his mouth to try to stop him. That sounded to me like you went like this. Oh no, don't say those things about Shauna. Well, what you really did was haul off and slug him.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah Baker claims she had a knockdown, drag-out brawl with her estranged husband, Bill Baker. Deborah says that's when Bill kicked her in the face.
Mr. Baker, your wife doesn't have a lawsuit, at least a viable one, because she started it. She hit you first.
She hit all of them.
Well, she hit you first, she's hit you second, she tried to kick you, she tried to hit you in your stomach, she tried to hit you in your testicles. She acknowledged that to the police. She had had a little bit to drink. The fact that she ended up with a broken nose, that's unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. When you start a fight, sometimes you get the worst of it. You understand that, Mrs. Baker? You started the fight.
I slapped his mouth.
I don't care whether you slapped his mouth. You,
okay.
I mean, even here, even in your complaint that you filed here, what you did was minimize what you actually did. I assumed that because you knew that I would be looking at the police reports, you came clean. But here you said, so I lightly slapped his mouth to try to stop him from saying the horrible things. That sounded to me like he went like this. Oh no, don't say those things about Shauna. Well, what you really did was haul off and slug him.
No, I did not punch him.
I
did not punch him.
Whether you slugged him with an open hand or a fist, that doesn't make any difference. You hit him first. He's going to tell me that he didn't mean to kick you, that you were struggling and, you know, you're trying to bite him on the toes, I think is what he says here, and that his foot extended and he kicked you in the face. But even if he kicked you in the face, after you slapped him, you can't complain because you got the worst of the fight. That's what happens. You put your hands on somebody first, you get the worst of the fight. You don't come to court and say, now you got to compensate me. You don't waste my time with that. The only question is, you have no lawsuit. The only question is whether he does or not. Because you started this fight, you were furious, and you weren't about to let it go, and you told the police, amongst other things, that you weren't begging him to be nice to Shauna, which is what you tell me in your complaint. You were calling him all kinds of names. You called him a wimp, you called him all kinds of other names before you got kicked.
Yes. Well, and I don't think that gives him the right to kick me when my face is down.
I want to tell you something. Where was his face when you slapped him?
He was sitting on the couch.
You make a difference whether your face is down or whether you're sitting on the couch?
He was looking straight at me. He was calling me by
Miss Baker, let me tell you something. You don't get any special compensation here because you're a woman and you got the worst of a fight. You started it. You put your hands on him first. You don't get rewarded for that. Case over. Now, you have a counterclaim. You have a counterclaim because you want Mrs. Baker to compensate you for what you spent as a result of being arrested that day. Let me see. Because that sounds viable to me. I don't know why you were arrested. I have no idea why you were arrested. Well, I know why you were arrested. You were arrested because she looked worse than you did. What happened with these cases? They were both dismissed?
Yes.
Yes.
Both decided not to follow through with them. Is that right?
It wasn't our choice. It was the attorneys, city attorneys.
Maybe he's afraid of city attorney's political future. I am not. I don't like domestic violence in whatever form it takes. But that doesn't mean that only women can be the victims of domestic violence. Men can be the victims of domestic violence as well. And unfortunately, this is a case where he was the victim of domestic violence. He was defending himself from you. You were out of control. You were out of control according to what you told the police. According to what you told the police, first you hit him. Then you try to hit him in the testicles. You try to hit him in the stomach. And after that, he kicked you.
That was to get him to get me out of the headlock. He had me in the headlock.
After that,
I was
he hit you. He kicked you and hurt you. That's what happened. And then he was arrested. His injuries look as bad as yours. He's got scratches all over him. He's got black and blue marks all over him.
Yeah, he had
and he was arrested.
The
reason he was arrested is because the police are very, very sensitive about domestic violence. When in doubt, arrest everybody. You know, and I can't fault them for that, because there have been lawsuits involving the police and domestic violence. So they say, listen, when in doubt, let the city attorney decide, or the county attorney decide what they're going to do, which is what they did in this case. And the county attorney wimped out. I won't.
Yeah.
I'm awarding Mr. Baker $1,500 on his counterclaim. Your claim is dismissed. That's all.
Judge Judy, you step out.
He's attacked her. He kicked her in the head while she was on the floor as well.
I just want to get on with my life and move forward.
It was a cowardly chicken thing to do, and I'm just really glad that I'm out of it.
This is case number 86 on the calendar in the matter of Jenkins versus Fowler.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Jenkins, the defendant is your daughter.
I gave birth to her, yes.
And the co-defendant, your son-in-law.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you believe that your daughter and son-in-law owe you for their share of a trip that you took to Hawaii.
Yes.
You asked your daughter to join you so that she could help you with your wheelchair and getting around, and you agreed to pay for her.
Yes, I did that.
She wanted her husband to go along. You said you couldn't pay for him.
Yes.
Or would not pay for him, and she agreed to pay for him.
Right.
So you say that they owe you some $3,000 for the trip.
Well, there was more than that. I gave her the number to my credit card that she could use over the telephone, and so she charged up a lot of things for where we got started. Told her she could charge a car payment, utility bill, cellular one, Geico.
So a lot of other of their personal charges that they placed on your credit card.
Yes.
Can I see the list of credit card charges that you think that they owe you, Ms. Jenkins?
Do you also want to see where on a different credit card I paid for everybody?
Yes. Okay, so you paid for everybody's ticket and the hotel, but that you had agreed to pay for except for his ticket.
Right, and hotel. That's $800 and some for the whole thing. It was a package deal.
$25.33.
Yes.
I'm really more concerned about this credit card, $3,670.
I'm concerned about that too.
Well, tell me what your interpretation was of the agreement that you had with your mother when you went, and the bills that you paid from her credit card.
When this came about, Miss Jenkins had said that she wanted to take a trip to Hawaii, and she was quite ill. She had emphysema, and that this might be the last chance she'd get to see Hawaii. She'd been there several times, and she knew that I had never been to Hawaii, and she also, we'd only been married a short time, and we didn't have a honeymoon, and she needed a caregiver, and my husband was a medic while he was in the service, and she felt that between the two of us, we could help her get around. But she also wanted to give it to us as a honeymoon present.
Is that what she said?
That's what she said. A honeymoon present that she was paying for 2/3, we would pay 1/3.
Or why would we go?
Just a minute. Go ahead.
Okay, and so I told her, I kept saying, no, we can't afford this. We just put a new roof on our house. We bought this older home that we were restoring. I had used both of our vacation time to go to my son's wedding in March in Kansas City. I had flown back to Maryland for my birth of my... I know, but there was no way we could afford to do this.
Okay.
I said, you know, if we're both missing a week of work, we can't pay our monthly payments. And she said, well, she had several credit cards with a zero balance, that she would be able to handle it.
As a loan or as a gift?
As a loan.
So some of your monthly expenses, in addition to 1/3 of the cost of the trip.
Right.
Okay.
Because I haven't been a part of Miss Jenkins' life, but the last 24 years, I have gotten to know my siblings, and they all told me that I needed to get everything in writing. They all warned me, or get witnesses. And in those phone calls, Miss Jenkins shared with us that...
Do you call your mother Miss Jenkins?
My mom. It is very hard. Told us that it didn't matter how long it took, or how long it took, or how much we could afford per month. You know, that she really wanted to go on this trip, and she wanted to be able to experience the time. I've never been alone with my mom on a trip ever.
Why is that?
So she's never been a mother to her, Your Honor.
Well, I was 3 months old when I was sold to a family. It was considered like a black market by my biological father and mother. And
so you were raised by another family?
I was raised by another group of people that abused me for the first 18 years of my life.
And then you found your mother?
I was 29 when I made the first call on April 7th, 1978.
You have siblings?
I have 7 siblings.
All older?
2 older and the rest are younger, and 1 sibling by my father.
So this was really the first time you were alone with your mother?
Alone without anybody except for my husband.
So you have every intention, or your intention is or was to pay back the expenses that you put on this card, your phone bill and your insurance and the other things. Okay. Did you pay back any of the money to your mother?
Yes, I did.
How much did you pay back?
The total is $1,026.
Now, as far as you're concerned, does that bring you up to date with your mother, both for the expenses that you charged on a card and the third of the trip? Doesn't look
We
that
don't know
way.
how much a third of the trip was.
We have never received any documentation telling us the cost of the hotel or cost of the airplane ride, anything.
All I know is the trip to Hawaii was $25.33. One third of that is $8.44.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other charges that you have on this credit card, which is what your mother gave me. Let me see if I can come up with a number.
I have letters here from both Mary Lynn and her husband that said how much they were going to pay and when they were going to pay. When she first came to Oregon, I co-signed for her to get a new car.
I'm not going, listen to me. Don't go back into ancient history. This is a very simple case, and let's not make it any more complicated, madam.
The last payments I got was for $13. That's what they're going to pay me the rest. $13 for 18 years will repay me for this loan.
How old are you, Miss Jenkins?
72.
You don't have a lot of money, but you have some, enough to keep you comfortable?
Yes.
Good. Is it important for you to have a relationship with your daughter?
Not now.
She never did before.
Just a minute. That's not her fault.
I was in the hospital when she was taken from me, and her father placed her with these people. I was in the hospital. He had deserted us. I was there for malnutrition and a kidney infection. And he brought these people to the hospital and said they wanted to adopt her. I throwed such a fit, they threw them all out. When I got out of the hospital, he had placed her with these people.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She told him that the used appliance man was my father. It's not a matter of money. I was sold for pots and pans and the cost of her hospital bill.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Jenkins says her daughter, Mary Lynn Fowler, and her husband, William Fowler, owe for a trip to Hawaii and for unpaid credit card charges.
Miss Jenkins, I'm not placing blame.
Oh, okay.
I'm not placing blame. All I'm saying to you, it's not her fault. She was the baby. She was a baby.
That's right.
So
it also was not my fault. I tried.
Well, it's not her fault, so it has to be parents' fault because the parents are the parents. It's not her fault. All I'm saying to you is...
I was 18 years old when she was born.
All I'm saying to you is, it seems to me that it's a very sad state of affairs.
It is a sad story.
When a parent, especially with a circumstance where there has been a terrible estrangement over the years, for a couple of $1,000s, sues a child. That's something that I hate to see. If a child disappoints you by not repaying a loan, what parents usually do is say, I'm not going to give them any more money. It's a sorry state of affairs when you choose, under these circumstances, over a trip, to bring a lawsuit against your children. Now I'm going to turn to your counterclaim for a minute, which you, I believe you know at this point is nonsense, but I'm just going to make sure you know it's nonsense. Your counterclaim is for two things. You believe that you should be paid for caregiving services on the trip to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And then a certain emotional distress. The emotional distress, I'm sure, is some of the distress that you've just told me about. Well, you don't get paid for that. And as far as the caregiving for your mom, that was the arrangement. The arrangement was you were going to take care of her there so that she could travel. There was never any discussion of compensation, so you're not entitled to create a contract afterwards. So I'm sure that, but for the fact that your mother filed this lawsuit, you would not have filed your counterclaim. Would that be a fair statement?
That's right.
Yes.
So,
the emotional stress, though, I did have to go into therapy, which was very helpful so that I could write the letter that started this whole thing. On January 2nd, I wrote her a letter sharing with her I knew the truth and that she doesn't realize I have the paperwork where she signed me off when I was 3 months old. I have 2 valid certificates of birth with 2 different names. The people that adopted me to put me on a life of abuse. I was 18 years. That's why the $13 for 18 years, for the 18 years of hell I lived in until I could leave home. It's not a matter of money. I was sold for pots and pans and the cost of her hospital bill. And my biological father shared in the guilt. He told me he was sorry. He thought he wasn't my father. She told him that the used appliance man was my father. So that's why he left. He didn't have any need to stay around any longer.
Mrs. Fowler, it sounds to me as if you have a lot on your emotional plate to deal with.
And I do, and I appreciate your allowing me to share.
I believe that you have a lot on your emotional plate to deal with. So let me just make some suggestions to you.
Thank you.
You have children?
I have 3.
How old are they?
My oldest is 33. He's a president of a company. My daughter lives here in Los Angeles. I adopted her from Cambodia, and she's 41. She's married to a fireman here, and my youngest son is just 30, and he's a doctor of psychology, and he just was out of the Navy during the 9/11.
So it sounds like you have 3 lovely children.
I do,
They've done
and
okay.
grandchildren.
And how many?
3 grandchildren
Soon
and
to be 3.
No, I have 3. 2 boys here, 1 girl in Nebraska, and 2 that are within the next week.
So it sounds like everything came together.
That's good.
Despite the pain in the beginning of your life. So well, the reason I asked you the age of your kids is because you had children when they were 18. Remember when they were 17, 18 years old?
Definitely.
Tell me about them when they were 17, 18 years old.
Hot cars and fun times, and we also went through.
But irresponsible.
They had to be respectful, you know.
But irresponsible.
Yes.
Irresponsible kids.
Yes.
Kids.
Sometimes.
So because I had 18-year-olds, a whole bunch of them, and they know nothing.
Oh, about life.
So I want you to just think about your mother being 18 years old, and you were her 3rd child?
3rd child.
3rd child. So something wasn't going right in her life.
I know that.
Because she must have had first when she was 14 or 15. Right?
And I understand
So
that.
something wasn't going right there. And nobody has a crystal ball. Very often adoptions turn out beautifully. Most often they turn out beautifully. People who want to adopt a baby really want a child very desperately, and they want to give the child a home. So if that even entered the mix of I'm 18 years old, I got 3 children, I have no idea how I'm going to pay for tomorrow's bread, at least give my child a shot at a future. The fact that it turned out badly is a sin.
It is.
But I don't think that that sin can be visited on your mother because you know what being 18 is, being 17 and 16 and 15 and...
Nor did I ever say that I knew this dramatically because I didn't want her to hurt. I have, you know, I've known for the last 29 years that I was bought. I was not ever legally adopted. There's no legal adoption papers. And I was told from birth on that I was not loved and that I was sold to them.
Then your quasi-adopted parents did a terrible thing.
They did.
And
they're gone.
And everybody's dead but me, so that's why use mother.
No, Miss Jenkins,
I'm serious. All these other people are all dead.
You have to understand that your daughter, even though she's 53 years old, has certain hurts.
I understand that.
And that
I
she's
hurt
had
too when I couldn't get my baby.
Listen to me. It's different. You're the mother. You're supposed to be the one to take care of business, even if you are 18 years old. It was your fault you got pregnant. It was your fault you had her. And she's had to deal with certain hurts her whole life. And it looks to me as if she has done a responsible turnaround despite her unfortunate upbringing, and she's raised a family, she has a nice husband, she has nice children, and she appears to me to be a lovely lady, despite the fact that she has pain. And I think you're making a big mistake by suing her. I want to tell you that I think you're making a big mistake by suing her.
Can I say something?
Sure can.
When she first found me, she called me. I got on a plane. I went back there. I spent a month with her. And while I was there, this man came to the door. He didn't knock. He said, "Mary Lynn, I'm coming in." This is the same man she was talking about that done all these things to her. She was 28 years old then. I talked to her ex-husband that she married at 18 years old. When I talked to her husband about this, he said he didn't know anything about it, or he would not have let a child molester in his home. I asked him, how could this be? She didn't share that with her husband? She was 18 years old?
Miss Jenkins, sometimes you don't share those things with anybody.
Now she's sharing it with the whole world.
Just a second. Maybe a little therapy and maybe a little maturity allows her to do that. But I won't allow you to dismiss that, because even if over the years the facts have become blurred, your daughter felt abandoned when she found out that she was not a biological child of these people, that she had not been formally adopted. And the fact that she married somebody when she was 18 seems to suggest that there were a lot of things going on that...
And she married a man with money so that her children could go to college. I didn't do that.
Just
I'm
a second.
sorry.
Just a second. She has not had an irresponsible life. I think you're making a mistake by suing her, but there it looks to me, look, folks, I see that I'm not going to repair this, Miss Fowler.
Can I add,
Sure.
add something? I've been silent. Yes, I've been silent. My ex-husband did not know about my abuse because I felt like I would have been dirty to him. The reason why the child molester came in my home was because he was at my grandmother's house. My biological mother was there. He came in because he wanted to renew old friendships with her. He was
That's
in
a
and
lie,
out.
Mary
He was
Lynn.
in and out of our home for the first 3 years of my life. He would come over and drop me off. She would babysit for me while they went out and partied. And you tell them that's
are
not
you
a
telling
lie?
me that you knew your mother?
My mother babysat for me till I was 3 years old.
In these other people's homes?
In her own home. They brought me to her
my
house.
home.
So at 3 months old, you were given to another couple.
Right.
But they allowed your mother to babysit for you until you were 3
years old.
Miss Fowler.
Thank you. I'm
Do you
sorry.
have a nice husband?
I have a wonderful husband.
You have 3 children?
Yes.
You're going to have some new grandchildren?
Yes.
Sounds to me as if everything is okay.
It is.
And you're trying to find a
Some
comfortable
closure.
path. A comfortable path for yourself. I don't think your mom's going to get there. She's not going to get there. And whether or not you can mend it, I don't know. And I don't even know whether it should be that important to you anymore. You know, you want it to be important, but I don't know if
Everybody wants a mom.
Yeah, but I don't know if it can be. So it seems to me as if you have somebody lovely to rely on, and you have a lovely family, and maybe it's just time to put that period. So, Miss Jenkins, I've gone over some brief figures. You're suing your daughter and your son-in-law for $3,048.38. I find that they owe you $760 on the bills, and I'm entering a judgment in your favor for $760. And if you want to cancel it, you can. That's all.
I want to
That's
cancel
up to you.
it. I want to cancel it.
Well, you want to cancel the debt? No, that's
No,
important.
I want to
You want to
cancel
cancel
this
the
court.
debt?
I want to cancel
Do you want to
this court.
cancel the debt?
No, I want the money I need to pay the credit card off.
$760 then is what you get, period.
I hope you win.
That's this case number.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Somebody annoying you this morning?
No, not really. Your Honor, this is case number 73 on the count in the matter of Mark versus Brown. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Marr, according to your complaint, you and the defendant met on the internet?
That's correct.
And began a relationship that lasted a relatively short period of time. During that time, it is your claim that you made loans to him well in excess of $5,000.
That's correct, Your Honor.
The relationship is over, you want your money. The defendant says that he made no promise to return anything that you gave him, that everything that you bought or gave him were just that, gifts, right?
Correct.
Give me the date when, after you met him on the internet, you met in person.
March 20th of 2000.
And how long did the relationship last?
Up through February 27th of this year.
When was the first loan that you made to him?
May of 2000.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding that.
At that time, he would tell me how stressed he was and he needed money for bills, about $500, and he wanted it in cash, and I did that for him.
Where were you when the conversation took place?
On the phone, late at night.
He said, you said?
He just said he was behind in bills. He didn't know what he was going to do. You know, he was very stressed. And when he gets stressed, Your Honor, he gets chest pains. And
so you said what?
I said, I'll be happy to loan you the money till you can get on your feet. And it was definitely a loan.
You didn't say to him it's definitely a loan. I just want you to tell me what you said to him.
I said, how much would it take to catch you up in your bills?
That sounds right. That sounds like something you might say to him. How much will it take? And he said $500?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. You say he told you it would be about $500.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you say?
I said, I'll be happy to get you on your feet.
Okay. That sounds better. Not probably quite accurate. I'll be happy to help you. Or that wouldn't be a problem. I can help you with that. Is that what you said to him?
I will help you out until you can get on your feet. He was unemployed at the time.
Okay, so you said, I'll help you out until you get on your feet.
Mm-hmm. Which he never did, in my opinion.
Right?
Pardon me?
You said, I'll help you out until you get on your feet. Is that a loan?
Yes.
Yes, that's a loan. Perhaps, if he ever gets on his feet.
Well, he says he's broke. But
then
I know
he's
different.
not on his feet?
Well,
he
is employed now.
Not on his feet?
That's a matter of opinion.
I understand that. That's not smart of you. All right. So when was the next time you claimed you gave him money?
Would you like to see?
I don't want to see.
Okay.
Listen
I
to
mean,
me.
there was tons of times, and the reason I just kept doing it is because he would tell me he had a terminal illness, he had a year to live. He faked heart attacks, and he would threaten to rob a convenience store, and I would panic and think, you can't do that. That's immoral. That's against the law. What can I do so you're not so stressed? He had heart attacks. That is how my husband died. I was just totally worked up.
Not true, Your Honor.
I have proof.
Just a second.
My son here, he has witnessed these things that I have said.
Listen to me. I want you to calm down and calmly tell me the next time you gave him cash. When was it?
It was in October. He had just moved to a different city.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with him. He moved?
I had spent a few days prior to that, and he never brought it up. The minute I get home from the weekend, he says how stressed he is, he's having chest pain, and that he's behind on some bills, and he needed to get them paid. There was utilities, the water was going to be shut off, his cell phone was going to be shut off, no phone, he wouldn't be able to come and call me. So
what did you say?
I said, what do you need? Why didn't you tell me when I was there?
Okay, and what did he say he needed?
About $600.
You have proof?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it?
Yes, ma'am. Well, let me look at my list here.
The first money in May of 2000, you gave him cash.
That's correct, Your Honor. I have proof that it came out of my savings and cashier's check, that it went directly to him.
I want to know the next cash item that you gave to him.
There was always something, prescriptions.
No, cash.
I made cash deposits right into his checking account. And I have 3 times I did that in July and August. It was right after his back surgery. He couldn't work. He gave me the same old sob story. And I have all that proof right here, Your Honor.
Let me see it.
And that totaled $1,400 in 3 deposits.
I'd like to see proof of that.
Thank you, Brooke.
All right, when was the next cash that you gave to him?
At the end of the year, $400. I have the withdrawals, and I gave him the cash.
That doesn't prove anything. You just withdrew $400, but it doesn't show that it was transferred into his checking account. Is that right?
He didn't have a checking account in town.
Yes, I did.
I gave it right to him because he came down to see me, and the only way he could come down to see me is if he rented a car, and so that's why I gave him $400.
All right.
He would constantly give me these stories that would...
Miss Marr, If you're constantly giving you stories, then you say to him, after the second time he gives you a story, you say to him, adios, goodbye.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hattie Marr claims ex-boyfriend James Brown conned her out of money by playing on her sympathy. Hattie says he faked a heart condition and a life-threatening illness.
Your story is, and I read your complaint, that your husband had died of a heart attack, that you met him, that you were very vulnerable, that he appeared very, very nice person, that he...
But he manipulated me.
Well, you're a grown-up lady.
But I was grieving at the time.
You're a grown-up lady.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so he took advantage of you.
Yes, by faking heart attacks, by threatening to commit suicide. I would be on the phone for hours.
Well, that would have saved you a couple of bucks if he committed suicide. You know, there comes a point when you say, listen, you got to do what you got to do.
But I cared for him. I loved him.
What?
I cared for him, and I loved him, and I believed, and I trusted everything he told me. He had me going all the time.
I got the picture. This is not a hard picture. This is a picture that I see time and time again. I have some money that she can establish she gave to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm not talking about buying you a new tire or buying you prescriptions or paying for your cell phone bill. I'm talking about cash money.
Yes, Your Honor. This is my current...
I don't care about your current. I care about the then.
But Patty had made statements that she wanted to talk to her, and she
Just pay attention to me.
Okay.
I run the show. And if you have a heart attack here, we'll make sure, very, very sure, sir, that you get out the door so you don't interfere with the rest of my calendar. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes.
She gave you cash. She wrote you checks. She deposited cash in your account. Is that true? Is this proof here that I have accurate?
Yes, it is, but
Perfect.
there is...
No. I'll ask the next question. Did you repay her in cash for any of this money? $500, $600, and $1,400. Did you repay her for any of that?
If she wanted me to come down and see her, why would I repay her when she wanted me to come down and see her?
The answer is either yes or no.
No, I told her there was never no talk about repaying her.
I'm asking you a question. Did you pay her back this money?
No.
You acknowledge that she gave you the money?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Now, are you currently under the care of a cardiologist?
No, Your Honor.
Did you at any time indicate to the plaintiff that you had a heart condition?
I do have a heart
The answer
problem.
is either yes or no.
Yes.
You did. And did you at any time tell the plaintiff that you were stressed financially?
Yeah, I was stressed financially, yes.
And after you told her that you were stressed financially, she gave you some money?
Yeah, she said, I'll help you out, here's a gift, you know. And I said, I can't afford to repay you. She knew I could not afford to repay her.
Why can't you afford to repay her?
I was unemployed, Your Honor, raising...
Why were you unemployed?
Because I had had back surgery and
A lot of people
surgery.
have back surgery. When did you have back surgery?
June of last year.
Where had you been working before that time, sir?
I was working part-time at Walmart.
Part-time at Walmart? How old are you?
37.
Why were you working part-time at Walmart? What's wrong with you?
I had 2 stomach surgeries.
2 stomach surgeries for what?
Stomach, what was polyps, cancer.
You know, I doubt that.
Hmm?
When was the
I'm
last
sorry.
time you held a full-time job?
2 years ago. Well, actually, last year. The year before, it was 99.
Con artist. Are you the current girlfriend? Step up here. When did you meet Sir Lancelot?
I met him in February.
You met him in February?
2001.
Can't be without a meal check. What kind of work do you do?
I'm an internet customer service for Northwest Airlines.
How much do you earn annually?
I don't know, probably 25,000.
And what's Prince Charming doing?
He's working full-time.
Mm-hmm.
He
Where?
has been since I've known him.
Where?
He was at Minn Kota, and now he's at, they make trusts.
So he has a nice job?
Yes.
Good. He makes good money?
Yes.
Perfect. You owe $2,500, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I had spoke with Patty on the phone, and she basically said if she gave him more money, he would come back. And she was addicted to
He
it.
faked 2 heart attacks in my home with my son present.
And now the
Brock versus Courtney. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Brock, you are a peace officer. Is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
Your complaint is that you made a traffic stop of the defendant for speeding, and that subsequent to giving him a ticket, he filed a complaint against you, which was patently false, with Internal Affairs causing an investigation. And while you were cleared of all charges, that report will remain on your file permanently, and you want him to pay you damages.
That's correct.
That's what the case is about. So I have a couple of questions, then I'm going to go to Mr. Courtney. How long have you been a peace officer?
I've been a peace officer, Your Honor, for approximately 9 years.
And what is your assignment, sir?
I'm assigned to the traffic division as a motor officer and an accident investigator.
When did this incident happen?
The incident occurred on September 2nd of 2000,
What time of day?
approximately 8:30 in the morning.
And what was the reason that you stopped the defendant's car?
On that date and time, Your Honor, I was in uniform working speed enforcement in my jurisdiction when my attention was drawn to a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed on a street named El Camino Real. My visual estimation of the vehicle's speed was approximately 50 miles an hour, which is about 15 miles an hour over what's posted for that roadway. And that roadway in itself has numerous driveways and businesses in this particular area, which restricts a sight distance for vehicles traveling.
Whatever. So you thought he was going about 15 miles over the posted speed limit?
That's correct.
You pulled him over?
Yes.
When you pulled him over, you identified yourself as a peace officer?
Yes, I did, and I was in uniform.
Mr. Courtney, I'm going to come to you next, and I want you to tell me your version of what happened after you were pulled over.
The officer came up to my window, and I inquired of him as to why
Well, just tell me what you said. I inquired of him. Tell me what you said to him. He came up to your window. Did he say anything to you, or did you say something first?
He asked me for my identification.
Did he say, can I have your identification
Yes.
or your driver's license and registration?
Exactly. Yes, he
No.
did.
Which one?
He asked me for my driver's license and for registration.
Did you give it to him?
I looked for it, and then I suddenly remembered that all of my identification, along with my passport, was in my briefcase, which was sitting at home in another vehicle with my driver waiting to take me to LAX. I was on my way to Europe.
And you told him you didn't have
Yes, I did.
driver's license nor the registration for the car.
Yes.
What did he say to you then?
He asked me for my particulars, my age, my date of birth, my address, my height, my weight, color of my eyes, and I gave him that information.
Okay. Go ahead.
And he then returned to his motorcycle, which was probably 5 to 10 yards, parked behind my car, and he was there for quite some time.
And then?
Then he returned to the car, and he presented me with a ticket to sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I signed it.
And then?
And then he tore the ticket off, and he left.
So that all sounds very nice. And then what did you do?
Well, there was a lot that transpired in between
Well,
because
I'm
of his
asking you.
actions.
We're not going to play I've got a secret in 20 questions, Mr. Courtney. So far, you told me what happens when you make a routine traffic stop, license, registration you don't have, checks your ID, gives you a ticket, and you both go
Well,
on
the
your way. That
gentleman,
sounds
the
all very
gentleman
nice.
here, while he's composed today, was
No,
quite.
no, just tell me what happened,
He was
Mr.
agitated.
Courtney.
He was very agitated.
Tell me, sir. He comes and he asks for your license and registration. You don't have it. I want you to tell me point by point, which I thought you did, what it was that caused you to file a complaint against him.
When he approached me, Your Honor, he appeared agitated.
How did he appear agitated?
When someone looks at a person and they're not composed, possibly he had a bad start to his day, I don't know, and he did.
So he appeared agitated.
Yes, he did.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then, when I told him that I didn't have my identification with me, he just didn't seem to believe me, and he became more agitated.
No, don't tell me agitated. What did he say to you, sir?
He told me he was going to take me to magistrate's court.
Okay, go ahead.
And that was after I had informed him that I was on my way to LAX to fly to Europe, so I assumed he was going to take me to magistrate's court. I was going to miss my flight.
So what did you say to him?
I just basically cooperated with him and gave him the
tell me what
information
you
that he
said.
wanted to. I don't recall exactly what I said to him at that moment, but what I did do is I got on the phone and I dialed 911 right away.
Why?
Because of how he was conducting himself.
So far, I haven't heard anything, sir.
Well,
untoward.
I'm allowed to share it with you. He was,
Well, please,
he was very animated.
How animated?
He was animated to the point whereby he was in my face in my car.
How was he in your car?
His face was literally 12 to 18 inches from my face, and I'm sitting in the driver's seat, rather than having a good 3-foot distance where people can just communicate with one another. He was in the car, so to speak. He was in my face. He was not happy. He was in a bad mood. He was agitated.
Your Honor, this man is perjuring himself.
Just a second. Now, after he left, according to you, there were no words that he said to you. It was his affect. Is that right?
No, he threatened to take me to magistrate's court, and
That
I
is
couldn't
his
understand why.
That is his right to take you to magistrate's court, sir. So that's not a threat. There were no words that he said to you that were threatening. It was his affect.
And his hand on his gun, Your Honor.
Yes.
This was just a simple traffic stop
Well,
on a
it's
Saturday morning.
It's a simple traffic stop, Mr. Courtney, except that the person who he stopped had no identification, had no license, had no registration. So what initially is a traffic stop becomes something else when there is no identification. I'm going to repeat myself. Other than the fact that you say his affect appeared to be agitated, he did not threaten you in any way. He didn't curse at you in any way. Is that right?
Oh, that's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, what did he say to you, sir? That's what I'm trying to get to,
The
Mr.
intonation in his voice, he was very abusive in how he addressed me.
Tell me, sir, what he said.
I don't recall the exact words, Your Honor, but just the manner in which he conducted himself. He didn't comport himself properly.
All right. May I see the report that was filed, please?
This is a letter that he wrote to my department
I'd like
for
to see
Internal
that.
Affairs. That's the letter right there.
Your Honor, may I make a point, please?
Some of the points he made in the letter using the words...
Go ahead. Shh. Just a minute. Go ahead.
This incident occurred September 2nd. The Criminal Investigation Department conducted its investigation, wrote a letter back saying that they weren't going to pursue anything against the gentleman. Therefore, I assumed it was fait accompli, everything was over. I talked with my lawyer here in Beverly Hills. He said, pack it in, forget it. So I shredded everything.
Well, I have it here.
No, I appreciate that, but I wanted to peruse it prior to coming on the show.
Okay. Well, in the letter, Mr. Courtney, that you've written to the police department, you have accused the plaintiff of not only menacing affect, but of cursing at you on at least 3 occasions, something that one would necessarily remember if you remember his affect. I'm going to make a mark.
Your Honor, while you were looking at...
Just a second, sir. Would you show this to the defendant, please?
Thank you.
Read the portions that I've checked.
I apologize. I don't have my glasses with me.
It's a strong
Are
enough
we in
for
the same
anybody.
age? We're in the same age range?
I'm younger than you are.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheriff's Deputy Edwin Brock claims Donald Courtney filed a false complaint after a traffic stop. Donald claims Deputy Brock was verbally abusive.
Can you read with my glasses?
Yes, I can. Perfectly.
Now, I'll take them back. And the paper.
Thank you.
Without going into graphic detail. Well, I best go into graphic detail because we have a record here. When I was signing the ticket, in shrieking tones, according to you, he said, sign the ticket or you're going to court now. That I would remember. Then, you say, he said to you, with his finger, you and your limousine. And then you say he said to you, when you said, please just give me the ticket. And at this point he erupted and said, I've had enough from you. Those are things that I would remember if I were telling a story, Mr. Courtney. Mr. Brock, according to your complaint, sir, you made this stop. And the time you made the stop, you took out a recording device. Is that right?
Essentially, Your Honor, yes.
Not essentially. That's what you said here. You said, I got off my bike and turned on my tape recorder.
Yes. It's a device that I wear on my belt. It's not something that I have to remove from a stored place.
I understand that.
Okay.
And you take that off because it's protocol to turn on the tape recorder so that you can memorialize the stop. Is that right?
That's correct.
Where is it?
I have a copy of the tape right here.
I'd like to hear it.
Okay.
Bird.
It's difficult to hear, Your Honor, because of the background noise of traffic, but you absolutely will not hear foul language from either party on that tape.
Please copy me, Court.
What's the speed limit?
What's the speed limit? 35 where?
Unspeeded Boulevard to Garden View.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
Jesus Christ, I lived here for years. I never knew it. I thought it was 50. Are you serious? From where? Where's it 35? From where to where?
Encinitas Boulevard to Garden View Road.
Okay, which is Garden View?
Just passed.
Oh. Are you serious?
Well, that street's been there for 35 years.
No, I know, but I thought it was 50 the whole way down. Wow. I'll be damned.
Well, let me start with your registration and insurance. How about that?
I can't believe it. I'm flying to Zurich right now. I'm trying to get to the airport.
How do you go to the airport without identification?
Because I'm going home. The limo's picking me up.
I see. There you go. Do you have your vehicle insurance with you?
Nope.
Right. That's the only one you have?
No, I have one.
Okay. Bring your insurance report with you. Not admitting guilt to the charge of being cited here for the speed violation. That's what's very important for the charge. You're not admitting guilt to anything. Okay, your court date starts November 13th, 8 o'clock. Okay?
You said I'm not admitting guilt.
Well, it's constitutional right, though. Even if you agree.
What are you charging me for?
Speed violation, or proof of insurance in the vehicle.
Well, what is the speed violation?
What do you mean, what is the speed?
Well, what was I doing?
Well, you're over the speed limit. 48 miles an hour.
I mean, really. Let me say something. You really have nothing better to do than to stop me 50 miles an hour with the speed limit in this town? I mean, come on.
Let me ask you a question. Yes. Should I start writing tickets?
Well, let me say something to you.
No, don't say anything else.
Why not? I can say whatever I'd like.
You for sure can.
Yes.
Why you sign a ticket, though? You're going to sign a ticket and not delay me any longer. The ticket asked you nicely, and I did ask you nicely.
Don't be funny. Relax.
No, there's no more we have to do. I'm standing out here. I don't care who you are.
Well, I did the last time. Let me tell you what happened the last time.
I don't care what happened to the last officer. I'm hanging out here with these cars going 45 miles an hour. Now, I want you to sign a ticket so I can terminate. You want to terminate the contract by signing the ticket here. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you.
You're arguing? I'm trying to talk to you now.
I don't want to do it anymore. You know why? It's going downhill. You're getting the ticket.
For what?
You're getting the ticket whether you like it or not.
I don't mind.
Okay, I would like you to sign so I can go.
Sign it. Relax.
You can voice your opinion in court. If you sign a ticket and you can relax on your trip to Switzerland or wherever else. You want to go sign in front of a magistrate, you can sign it. If not, you sign it right there. They can be taped later on. Right here on the side of the road is not the place to have debate with cars going behind me at 40 and 50
I'll tell you, this is not the end of it.
You know what?
Not the end of it.
You won't be the first one.
Oh, no, you don't know what happened last time I took an officer's report.
Here's your copy. Hang on, don't go. I need your things, your thumbprint here, since you don't have any driver's license. Would you put your right thumb on the pad right here, please, and just lightly touch the box? That's it. Good day.
I got a problem.
Drive safely.
You're way out of line, Mr. Courtney. Way out of line. Didn't you know he had a tape recorder going?
Yes, I did.
Well, if you knew he had a tape recorder going, sir, and I've just listened to the entire conversation that the two of you had, there is nothing that he did to you that was untoward that day.
Respectfully, you weren't there.
I don't care whether I was there or not. I heard you.
I was there. I saw his facial remarks, his hand on the gun, and furthermore, I have a witness here with me today who will testify that he physically assaulted her in a court hallway 3 months later.
Do you want to know something? I am not interested in your witness because that case, if it's a case at all, has absolutely nothing to do with this.
Yes, it does.
Because
we appeared
you
in court on that
wrote
day.
this letter in which you allege, in this letter, which went to Internal Affairs, that he on no less than 3 occasions cursed you. He did not. That was clearly a lie. Now, maybe its intention was to get somebody's attention, but it was a lie because I've just listened to this entire conversation.
Your Honor, the validity of the authenticity of that tape has not been proven.
To my satisfaction, Mr.
Not
Courtney.
to mine and not in a court of law.
Sir, you've subjected yourself to this jurisdiction. This isn't the first case that I've heard, Mr. Courtney. And this isn't the first tape that I've listened to.
Your Honor,
and
I
I'm
asked
telling
for
you
that information. It
and
was not provided.
And I'm telling you that the only one who was giving a hard time that day was you. As a matter of fact, there is some indication on this tape that you threatened him.
Where is
You
that?
said to him something about the last cop who gave me a ticket. And he replied very quietly, I don't care about the last cop that gave you the ticket. Please just sign this ticket. And he didn't threaten to take you to magistrate's court, sir. He only said to you, you can either sign the ticket here, sir, or you can sign it in magistrate's court. Why don't you please sign it here? Then you can be on your way.
But I did sign it.
Mr. Courtney, you were vindictive. The complaint that you made against him was totally without merit, based upon that tape, which is what cleared him. Very smart of the police department to have you carry around these tapes, guys. I want to tell you something. It should have been done a long time ago. Now, I don't believe that Mr. Courtney knew that you had that tape, because if he did, I doubt very much whether he would have consented to appear here today. He did. You're suing him for $5,000. I take judicial notice of the fact that a complaint to Internal Affairs remains on your record, even if there is a finding at the end of an inquiry that there was no basis for the complaint. It does remain on your record. I am granting you your complaint in the amount of $5,000. This case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties on Williams versus Hume. Step forward, please.
19-year-old student Jennifer Williams is suing her ex-boyfriend, 19-year-old student Michael Hume, for attorney's fees, money loaned, and for kicking down her door.
Miss Williams, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours. I gather you were arrested on some sort of a warrant from when you were a juvenile. Is that right?
Probation violation.
And at that time, according to you, Miss Williams, he's in jail, and you loaned him some money to buy some socks and other toothpaste, I guess, combs,
Yes, ma'am.
shaving stuff. That wasn't a lot of money. How much was it?
$200.
Did he ask you for that money?
He asked for the money to be put in his account. I said I would do it as long as he paid me back.
Did you say that to him?
Yes, I did.
You remember that?
Not at all. I don't.
Do me a favor, don't laugh.
Sorry.
Did she put any money into your account?
Yes, she did.
How much?
She said 200.
How did she know you needed money in your account?
Well, I made phone calls.
And what did you say?
I said that we have commissary and I would like some money, and she sent me money. Some of that money, I was under the understanding that some of that money came out of one of my paychecks when I was working security before I was incarcerated.
Did you have any paychecks of his that he got after?
No, ma'am. None of the money that was put into his commissary account came out of his paycheck. That all came out of my paychecks.
Where was his paycheck?
At Sandy's house, who was his employer at the time. It was at her house.
So you never got his
No,
paycheck?
ma'am.
Okay. Now let's talk about the lawyer, because that's a much bigger bill. You say that you paid for his lawyer.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much was that?
Well, I had thought it was $1,100. I have the receipts. It says it was $1,200.
But you sued for 11.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's it.
Okay. Tell me, how come you paid for his lawyer?
I went to go see him in jail. It was originally understood he was going to get a court-appointed lawyer. Then he had called me and said he didn't want a court-appointed lawyer, that he had wanted a real lawyer. And then the next day when I had gone to see him in jail, I told him I would pay for the lawyer as long as he paid me back when he got out of jail.
A lot of that is false.
Just tell me the story, sir.
Okay.
And try standing up straight and looking at me.
Sorry.
Good.
Now,
looking at me.
basically,
I'm not there. I'm here.
okay, sorry. I told both her and her mother that I was fine with a court-appointed lawyer. I didn't agree to pay them back at all. I also it was never in writing or anything. I'd never said that. It was just never said. I was just under the understanding that she was paying for my lawyer to be nice because she loved me, blah, 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 you know.
There's a lot there to love.
Thanks.
Well, if you didn't want her to pay for your lawyer, and if you were just as happy with the public defender, why didn't you just say to the lawyer when the lawyer came to see you in jail, I have a lawyer, thank you very much, I don't need a lawyer?
Well, I didn't have a court-appointed lawyer yet.
So you had no lawyer and you're sitting in jail?
Not yet. I hadn't.
Just pay attention.
Okay.
You had no lawyer and you're sitting in jail. How old are you?
19.
Had you been in jail before?
Yes.
For how long?
Around 2 months.
Did you know her then?
No, no, I did not.
When you met him, had you known that he had spent some time in jail?
The first time I met him was when we were both working at Friendly's. I didn't find out he was in jail then until the 3rd week we knew each other. We weren't dating yet.
But then you found out that he had been incarcerated. Did you know what for?
Over the months we had dated, he had explained things. All I knew is that he had a probation violation, possession of marijuana, possession of a controlled substance, eluding the police. List goes on and on.
You still on probation?
No.
So you're not drug screened anymore, is that
No.
right?
Correct.
How did I know that?
You're really intelligent.
You're really right. What else?
Well, as far as him for telling you that he had never said he would pay me back, my witness was there at the time. She is my mother. She was in the room with us when he said it.
Let me hear you. Miss Williams?
Yes.
Let me hear what you heard. Where were you first?
We were in the lawyer's office. His father had mentioned, I'm not going to pay for your lawyer. And Michael had said, I will pay you back.
So you were all sitting together?
Yes. And the first time we had talked about the lawyer, I had gone with my daughter to see him in jail. And he said, don't worry, Ma, I'll pay you back when I get out of jail and I get a job.
Is that what he called you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What else?
He put a hole in my door, my bedroom door, when we were fighting one night.
Forget it. Let me tell you something. Was this after he got out of jail?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
After he got out of jail, I wouldn't have let him back in my bedroom at all.
And I was very stupid to do so.
Fine. Then you pay for the door out of your own stupidity.
All right.
Where are you working now? What is that around your neck?
This? Necklaces.
One or more?
2.
What are they made out of?
Just aluminum and metal.
Where are you working now?
Right now, I'm actually not working. I'm applying, though, at various jobs.
Who are you living with?
I'm living with my friend.
This friend?
No, not this friend.
What kind of friend?
He restores cars.
What else does he do? Does he sell? Is he a business person?
No, not at all.
Does he sell anything
No.
other than restoring cars?
No,
No.
People want him to sell his car, but he won't do it.
I wasn't talking about cars necessarily. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,300. That's all.
Parties are excused.
And now the next case.
All parties on Moeller versus Stevens. Step forward, please.
Commercial pilot Doug Moeller is suing his neighbors, Roger and Jackie Stevens, and their son, 17-year-old Brian. Doug says Brian purposefully damaged his daughter's bicycle. The Stevens are countersuing for the cost of a bike and damage to their screen door.
Mr. Moeller, it is your claim that the defendant's son damaged your daughter's bike.
That's correct.
The defendant says that he caused no damage to the bike, and they are counterclaiming because they say that their daughter's bike was stolen from your backyard and it's your fault. B, that your son tore a hole in their screen door. You weren't there during this bike incident?
No, ma'am, I wasn't.
I'd like you to sit down.
Okay.
And your children up here. Now, you weren't present either, is that right?
Correct.
So you can sit down, leaving the alleged perpetrator standing. When did this happen?
Around midsummer last year.
Tell me about the day.
We went over to see my cousin that we always play with.
You have to speak up because I can't hear you. Tell me your first name.
Timothy Moeller.
All right, Timothy, keep your voice up. You hear the way I'm talking?
Yeah.
Try to do it.
Okay.
Good. Okay, go ahead.
Brian started jumping up and down on the bike.
That's Brian.
Yeah.
What were you doing on the bike?
I was sitting on it. I've never seen a bike like that before, so I was testing out the shocks.
Testing out the shocks.
Right.
And how, Brian, were you testing out the shocks?
I bounced up and down on the seat a couple times and lifted the front tire off the ground about 2 inches and then let it go.
It was a girl's bike, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
It was a boy's bike.
Yeah.
Big or little?
It was big. It was a 20-inch.
Your Honor, could I give you a photograph of the bicycle as
Yes,
evidence?
I'd like to see it.
This is a photograph of the bicycle with a bicycle license, and it shows that these are actually children's bicycles. Quite a bit smaller than an adult would be riding.
Mm-hmm. Small?
I didn't think it was.
Small?
Okay.
Okay. Who told you you could get on the bike?
Nobody.
Can I see the wheel, please? How old are you?
17. I
So
was 16
get a job
at
and
the
pay for the wheel. Wheel's all bent. Wheel's all bent. Would you step up, sir? Okay. We'll make very quick work of this part of the case. Your son got on a bike without permission, tested out the springs, didn't ride it the way it was supposed to be ridden, and they say as a result of that the wheel was broken. So?
Well, according to my witness, my daughter and my son, when he got off, it was still on the kickstand. She got back on it. She rode home on it. We felt that if he had done it, she would have went home. If she'd have done it right then, she'd have went home and told her father, hey, Brian just damaged my bike. But the story that we got is that the next day or so, he noticed the damage, came to the children and said, what happened to your bike? We're not sure. We think maybe when Brian was on it, you know, and so we just don't feel that he did it. It may have happened later.
Well, what you feel is irrelevant.
Okay.
Relevant facts are he got on a bike without permission. He was testing the shocks.
Okay.
He's a big boy. He jumped up and down. I mean, at least he's telling the truth. Now, when you went to ride the bike home, did you see anything different in riding the bike?
The bicycle wheel was rubbing up against the side of the bike.
And did you feel that before he had gotten on the bike to test it?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Okay, so now I need the bill. I mean, it's not malicious, it's not terrible, but you pay the bill. $106, is that what it cost?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now, let's get, what?
Your Honor, could I speak for just a second, please?
Sure.
What we've heard here is in a large part a fabrication. In fact, I'd like to call Michelle Stevens as a witness, if I could, please,
Just a
Brian.
second, sir, you just won your case. Why do you have to call
Well,
anything?
I know, but there's a little bit more than $106 involved here.
What?
It cost me $27 to file this in small claims court in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
And there was more damage to it than just the wheel. The handlebar extensions were damaged, the pedals were damaged, the bicycle seat was torn up.
I asked for the bill to fix it.
Yeah, you got the bill.
You
That's
got
correct.
the bill,
Yes, ma'am.
$106.40.
That's correct.
That's the bill that you gave me.
That's correct.
So?
Well, I guess that's the end of the story then.
That's the end of the story.
All right.
You just
Okay.
won. Sit.
Very good.
This is not a major toxic waste pollution case.
I understand.
A bent bicycle wheel. All right, let me get to the bottom line of your case, which I've read. Let me see if I understand it. Your daughter was playing over at their house. The plaintiff wanted to go someplace. And according to you, he said to the kids, why don't you just put the bikes in the backyard? The daughter put her bike in their backyard. The bike was stolen. And based on that, you believe it's his fault.
His responsibility.
No, that's wrong. How old is your daughter?
13.
So she had the capacity to say, I'm going to go put my bike in my garage?
Which she did. And he said, no, just put it in our backyard. We won't be gone very long. And both of the girls' bicycles got stolen.
You want to go further and tell me about this torn screen?
This is just
When did that
what I
happen?
get from the kids. This was last summer.
Did you tear the screen in Mr. Stevens' house?
No, ma'am.
You have a witness with regard to the torn screen?
Yes. My
I'll
son.
hear you, Brian.
I was inside the house, and these two kids and my sister were inside, and I was trying to watch TV, and they were being loud, so they went outside. I locked the door, so they were locked out. I heard a noise at my window, and I opened the curtain, and Timothy was there with a stick poking a hole through it.
Did you poke a hole through the screen?
Uh-uh.
Did you replace the screen?
No, but I have an estimate to have it replaced.
You went through a whole summer with a screen with a hole in it from a stick?
Yes, ma'am.
Get a patch. I can understand why you're aggravated, but it's unfortunate that people who had a rather pleasant relationship have any tension because of this. That's your fault. They're all a lot younger than you are. So the first thing that happened was you locked your sister and her two friends out of the house because you wanted to watch television in peace. Is that what happened with the screen? Stupid. Then you got on a bike, jumped up and down on the bike, not your bike, and bent the wheel. Also, stupid. As a result of that, two families, which had, I assume, gotten along reasonably well together if you let your daughter go with the plaintiff before, have any kind of friction now. Very, very stupid. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $133, the counterclaims dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties on Briscoe versus Briscoe. Step forward, please.
47-year-old administrator Beverly Briscoe is suing her ex-husband, 49-year-old hairstylist Adolph Briscoe, for illegally repossessing her car. Adolph is countersuing for car payments, the cost of insurance, and credit card bills.
Ms. Briscoe, the defendant is your former husband.
Yes, he is.
You were married but have been divorced for many years.
Yes.
And to your credit, according to both of you, I assume, you've remained friends.
Yes, we did.
Good. And then you did a very foolish thing. You decided to buy a car from him.
Yes, I did.
Here goes the trouble. When did you decide to purchase the car?
On March the 15th.
Of this year?
Of this year.
You purchased the car for $8,000 in total.
Yes.
$4,000 was to go to Mr. Briscoe.
Yes.
The other $4,000 was what was outstanding on the loan.
Yes.
You did not change the loan to put it in her name. She was going to make the payments herself.
Yes, ma'am.
So you first paid him a total of
$1,500 on the 15th of March.
Oh, and then you made an additional payment to him. On what
Yes,
date?
On the 29th, I gave him $500. On April the 12th, I gave him $500. On April the 28th, I gave him $500.
That is
on
not
May
so.
the 12th, I gave him another $500. I have everything down here with my bank statements and everything.
Okay, let me see your bank statement. No, just take out your bank statement, don't. Just give me the whole portfolio.
And the days that I got paid, and Mr. Briscoe I had written down the dates that I got paid.
All right. So in total, you claim you gave him $3,500.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to what I've read, you made an additional 2 payments to the bank.
Yes.
And then in the 3rd month, he claims you were late in the car payment, and he came and repossessed the car.
Yes, a day late. I didn't breach my contract with Mr. Briscoe. He was very upset at me because someone that I chose to be in my life, and this is the person here.
I don't care. I put the picture away. I don't care who you chose to be in your life.
But that's why he was upset, and he chose to come get the car from me on the 21st of May.
When is the car payment due?
On the 20th.
On the 20th.
Had you mailed the payment in?
I was getting ready to mail it on the 22nd.
So you hadn't mailed it in?
No, I haven't.
So they weren't going to get it at least for another 2 or 3
Yes,
days?
and the month before that, I mailed it on the 26th. He didn't give me a call then. That's when we were still friends.
Did she give you $3,500?
No, she did not.
How much did she give you, sir?
She gave me $2,500.
Well, this doesn't show. This just shows that you took out money.
I have money orders on the back.
Money orders?
Yes, of $500.
Just a minute. I have 5, 10, 15.
And the other 2 I gave him
$1,500.
cash. I can't show you anything because I gave him cash the first 2 times. He know that I gave him $1,500. Then I gave on the 29th, I gave him...
Was it $1,500 in cash, sir?
Yes, it was.
Then I have 3 money orders made out to you in the amount of $500 each, which brings the total on this to $3,000, not $2,500.
Then I am $500 off.
When I gave him the $1,500, that was
He
cash.
acknowledges that you gave him the $1,500
But he can't
in
remember
cash.
the other, on the 29th, he can't remember
Maybe
that
not.
also. No.
Okay, it's $3,000. The 2 car payments that you made to him, you drove the car.
Yes.
For those 2
I don't
months.
want the money back for that.
Fine.
Because I drove the car.
Okay, now let's get to your counterclaim, Mr. Briscoe. According to you, several years ago you weren't feeling well, and your former wife came to take care of you, and you were feeling very benevolent towards her. So you decided to give her a credit card to help her out, or a
Yes.
couple of credit cards to help
Yes.
her out. Tell me about these credit cards. Did you take
Yes, he
credit
gave
cards
me the
from him?
credit cards. He gave them to me in December. I have payments that I made each month to the credit card place. Adolph eventually turned them off. I have a tape that he said he's going to cut everything off when we had the argument on April the 20th.
So how much do you owe on the credit cards?
I owed, I believe on one of them I owe like maybe $900.
And on the other one?
Probably about 2 or 3.
How much does she owe on the credit cards?
She owes $1,500 total.
Show me.
On,
Just show me. She may not be 100% right. She's not so far off.
And Judge Judy, he turned them off, so I couldn't make arrangements to pay them.
Okay.
Because they said they cut off, they're closed, lost credit cards. I couldn't make any arrangement. He closed them out.
$1,250. Well, that's about what you said.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you want her to pay what else, sir?
There's another credit card as well for $500, which I have told I have paid $200.
No, I have to see the balance. I have to see her balance on that credit card.
They were going to send me all of that, and they didn't send it in
Well,
time.
I can't help you with that,
And
sir.
Judge Judy, they'll just do $29. And Adolph, if he wouldn't have turned it off, I could pay that.
You owe him the money. my question to you, Mr. Briscoe,
Yes.
is why didn't you give her back the money she had paid you? You took the car back.
Right.
Do you think you're entitled to keep the $3,000 that she paid you for
Absolutely.
the car?
I have.
Shh.
You
So
asked
the
me.
answer is yes. You think
Yes.
you're entitled to keep that money.
Absolutely.
Well, explain to me why, sir.
Your Honor, when they collect your car and you don't pay your payments, no one gives you
Adolph,
any
you
money
were late
back.
for 2
Mrs.
months when I
Briscoe,
took care of
Miss
you.
Briscoe.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to hear you when he's speaking. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You are not Ford Motor Corporation.
I am the one that's responsible for the car.
You are not Ford Motor Corporation. If after
So
2
she
months,
drives
sir,
my
I'm
car for
speaking,
3 months?
try not to speak over me, Mr. Briscoe. You will be unsuccessful. If she paid you $3,000, and I'm discounting the money she says she gave you in cash because she has no
She didn't
proof
give
of
me
that.
any money. Yes.
I'm speaking. If she gave you $3,000 and you took the car back within 2 months, you don't get to keep her $3,000. 3 months.
Yes.
You don't get to keep her $3,000. In addition, for the car payments she made, part of that went towards your principal on your loan. That helped you out a little bit, but she drove the car, and I'm not going to get into the pennies that it was to pay off a certain percentage of the loan over the 2 months period, but you certainly came out on top with regard to that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand, absolutely.
Well, if he doesn't understand, if you had time, you'll explain it to him outside. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,788.
आप सोनी तो आप इसे डिसेबल भी कर सकते हैं। आपको अगर लग रहा है कि बहुत ज़्यादा कंटेंट हो जा रहा है, इसे मैं आप सोनी कराना चाहते हैं तो सिंपली इसे बंद कर दीजिए। वो आपका मेन बैनर चला गया, आपकी साइट और थोड़ी छोटी हो गई, पर ये रखना इजी है और अच्छा लगता है ये रखना, तो आप इसे रखिएगा। तो चलो मैं फिलहाल फिर से ऑन कर देता हूँ। तो यहाँ सिंपली आपको कौन सा चीज़ कहाँ रखना है, आप सारा कुछ यहाँ से कस्टमाइज, अगर मैं डिटेल में जाऊँगा तो बहुत बड़ा हो जाएगा वीडियो, तो आप खुद से देख सकते हैं। पॉपुलर न्यूज़, ये आपको यहाँ से, ये साइंस ऑलरेडी सिलेक्टेड है, इस वजह से ये ऐसे शो हो रहा है साइंस कैटेगरी, यहाँ से आप चेंज कर सकते हैं। ठीक है, नंबर ऑफ पोस्ट टू डिस्प्ले 3 है, तो मैं 4 जितना मैक्सिमम 4 कर देता हूँ। तो जो ये मेन बैनर में 3 सेलेक्ट है, 4 हो गई, 1 2 3 4। ठीक है, अब रिलेटेड पोस्ट है वो भी अगर चाहे तो आप दिखा सकते हैं। 3 सेलेक्ट है, 4 हो गई, 1 2 कर देते हैं। ठीक है, नंबर ऑफ सिंपली आपको